Doing the paperwork up here, trying to get ready to start this meeting of Board of Mayor and Aldermen for Tuesday, August the 8th, 2023. We're formally called to order. We're going to call the roll. Vice Mayor.
Present.
Alderman Blanton.
Here.
Alderman Hanson. Here. Alderman Peterson. Here. Alderman Berger. Present. Alderman Brown. Present. Alderman Potts. Present. Alderman Baggett. And the mayor's present also. We're going to begin by asking that the middle aisle be completely cleared in case there's some type of emergency or accident. We can't have the middle aisle blocked by people standing there. There are seats out in the lobby to watch on TV, or you can move around to the edges as best you can, but the middle aisle must be kept open. So thanks for accommodating us. So we're going to begin with an invocation and pledge of allegiance. Vice Mayor, would you lead us in the invocation, and I'll lead in the pledge of allegiance.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight in prayer, thank you for this great nation that we live in and for all the many freedoms that we have. Freedom of assembly, freedom to worship. We give you thanks for these. We ask that you be with the first responders, the soldiers who are in foreign countries protecting our freedoms. We know that there are a lot of hardships on them. We know that there's separation of families, and we ask that you be with each of them. We also ask that you be with each of us as aldermen as we make decisions tonight and in the future. Give us spiritual wisdom and guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is an opportunity for citizens to make comments. I have a number of speaker cards, and these are speaker cards that pertain to items that are on the agenda. I have no speaker cards for items not on the agenda, so we'll continue to move on through. I have no communications from the Williamson County Commission, and the next item would be approval of minutes from the June 27th, 2023 work session, the June 27th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, the July the 11th work session, and the July the 11th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, and I would entertain a motion.
For approval.
Thank you, Vice
Second.
Alderman Blanton and Alderman Brown. Thank you for the second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Do we have any recognitions or miscellaneous reports tonight? Seeing none, we'll continue to move forward with the consent agenda. And tonight, we're considering items number 17 through 25 on the consent agenda. All of these items are on the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. They will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. So, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Second.
Who was that?
Patrick.
Alderman Baggett, you're quick. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number, to old business. This is item number 3. This is a public hearing. Consideration of ordinance 2023-15, an ordinance to rezone 7.2 acres from residential R4 to Plan PD 38.19 per 3,000 district for the property located east of Franklin Road and south of Liberty Pike, located at 2090 Old Liberty Pike, Middle 8 PUD subdivision. Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As with any rezoning, staff looks to envision Franklin to ensure that the proposed uses and densities are in line with the vision of the city. This property is within the multifamily residential design concept, so the proposed uses of multifamily, townhome, duplex, and single-family residential are appropriate, and they're appropriately located on the site to provide adequate transition to the existing neighborhoods. The density proposed and the small amount of commercial square footage proposed does align with the recently adopted special consideration in Envision Franklin, which addresses additional height on the site and community-minded retail spaces, as well as aligning with the Historic Zoning Commission's preliminary recommendation of approval for overall height, massing, and scale. The applicant is requesting an additional condition of approval from BOMA, which would reduce the height of the eastern building, which will be discussed further on the next item, the development plan. While the request is to reduce the height, they have not requested a change to density. Keeping the density request allows the opportunity to recapture the units from the removed floor other places within the building, should it be feasible. Staff and the Planning Commission recommend approval of ordinance 2023-15.
And I'll give the developer an opportunity to speak at this time if they'd like.
Mayor and Board of Aldermen, thank you for serving our city. My name's Toby McKeon. It's my wife Amanda. This is our partner Charles. Bought this home 30 years ago in 1993, and we've lived there since 1994. I've sat on that back porch many times and wondered, what is this 5 acres? What is this 7 acres back here? What could it be? What should it be? It didn't look like parkland to me. One time, me and my sons rented a bush hog and created a trail for our dirt bikes, but I don't think it's supposed to be that either. Calvin tried to buy it. Calvin Lehu, who bought the factory and renovated it, he tried to buy it and wanted to buy our property to be a parking lot for the factory, but I didn't think that was what it was supposed to be. Someone suggested a MAPCO at one point. Developers have come around, one suggesting 600 apartments back there. We just kind of got protective of the land, and we thought this is a special piece of property in the interior of Franklin's downtown. So I sat on the porch many times looking back there thinking, what should this be? What could it be? What is it supposed to be? And I came to the conclusion that it's supposed to be people back there. Envision Franklin came out in 2017 and suggested multifamily, even density there. It's next to Jameson Station and 300,000 square feet of retail across the street at the factory. We aligned with the city. We thought this is right. It is right to have density there. It is right to have people back there. I don't feel like this property is right for 14 mansions behind a gate. I don't feel like we need any more $3.5 million homes in Franklin. It just doesn't feel very much like a factory district either. I want to tell you, I remember when I moved to Franklin in '94, I looked a little different. I was a lot younger. I had longer hair. And I remember when I bought our home and I would walk around Franklin, there were times when I didn't feel welcome here. There were many times when I did. Many people were very kind. But there were times when I didn't feel welcome because I looked different. Maybe I didn't look very Franklin. So I've really tried in this new era of Franklin, like I'm talking the last 10 years, with everybody moving in, I try to remember when I didn't feel very welcome. And I try to be very welcoming to people. It's hard sometimes. I get frustrated like everyone, like it seems like people are just pouring in here. But I've tried to, I get convicted because I remember back to when I didn't feel welcome, and I really try to welcome people here. It's become a part of me and Amanda's story to welcome people here. I once read a quote that we've tried to embrace. It said, if you have more than you need, don't build a higher fence, build a longer table. That's what we're trying to embrace. That's a philosophy we're trying to embrace, right down to it being in our backyard. We want to invite more people to be part of our community in the walking downtown corridor of Franklin, Tennessee. And just one last thing, I remember when I bought my home, when we bought our home, there was only grass between me and the factory. Liberty Pike didn't exist. There was a chain link fence between me and the factory. And when Liberty Pike was suggested, of course I didn't want it to go in. I didn't know I was going to live on a busy corner. I thought I would just had pasture between me and the factory. But sometimes, I guess I felt like I never planned on living on this busy corner, but it ended up being better for the city. And I think that's part of our story. Sometimes we're looking for to be inviting and to make our city a better place, and we're honored to do that. And we feel like the Middle Eight will do that, so thank you.
I think we would just follow up with, so here's the great vision. Now, how do we get it done? You know, how do we bring density to our own backyard in a way that is acceptable and beautiful and reflective of the historic home and our historic city? And that's why we kind of went and did a nationwide search to find this premier architect to come and say, hey, whatever we build here needs to be beautiful. And can it be beautiful? And can it feel appropriate? And our entire team, who are local and national, and the vision was the Middle Eight, which you're all familiar with. And so, Gary, you want to come take it from here? Our team is here to answer your questions and also to just talk about the loss of the floor. As you all know, when we lose a floor, our dream and our hope has been to bring a more diverse form of housing to walkable downtown Franklin. And when we take out the floor, we will lose some of those units, as most of you know. We're fighting why we have said the density, we have been advised that the city has said, look, we'll lose about 20 to 30 units when we take that floor out. But exactly how many we need to work through with the HCZ and in the site plan phase. So, and we're going to try as best we can to hold on to some of those smaller units and do right by the people that can't afford to live here right now. Leave that with you.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. My name is Gary Vogan with Kaiser Vogan Design, speaking on behalf of the Trillium Development Company. I can't say enough, working with this team and this client relationship. They've opened their hearts, their doors to the community, invited them in to discuss the project. I thank them for that. We are very proud to be running the project, but they summed it up succinctly. As Amy had mentioned in her opening presentation, and Toby DeManda had mentioned, we are offering that motion to you all to reduce the floor height of the building adjacent Jameson Station. Make it 4 stories on Liberty, 5 stories in the back. Simple as that. In terms of the rezoning, I'll hold my discussion for the development plan for the next item, but here to answer any question. Our team is here. I'm just a spokesperson for our architect and designers, but agreeing with staff comments and just look for your approval. So thank you.
So I have a number of speaker cards here, and I assume, and I don't want to assume that the speakers are wanting to speak to the rezoning, but they're wanting to speak to the development plan. You didn't indicate on the cards exactly which one you want to speak to. So if I assume that that's correct, if not, if you plan to speak on the rezoning, I need to know that now. Otherwise, we'll continue to move on.
Lisa Ann Flowers, I will be speaking about the rezoning.
Yes, ma'am, please come forward and state your name.
Wasn't quite ready for that, okay.
Anybody else that wanted to speak? Alderman Martin, former Alderman Martin, excuse me. Please come up and line up. Anybody else that wants to speak to the rezoning? Okay, we're going to cut the speaking to rezoning to, you have 1 minute, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Lisa Flowers. I'm also known as Lisa Gary. I live at 210 Franklin Road, right between Liberty and Old Liberty. I have seen my historic zoning get cut and cut and cut. I did not buy my house in 2013 to restore it all the way back to 1924 and get an award for it so that all of this stuff could keep coming. We don't have an HOA. Where we live, we're in the city. So we are just kind of at the mercy of the city and you all. And you'll be the ones voting. But we have no protection. You know, when
Keep
I-
speaking into the
I'm
mic.
sorry, when I bought my house, I thought I was protected by historic zoning. I'm finding that I'm not, and I've lost every single thing that I love. I'm also one that gives to a community, and I also have given historic tours all over this city for free the whole time I've been here. And what's happening now, the new tourists, where's the history? Take that historic off of Franklin. And what does this envision? And what is this bar that I thought was gonna have a big high chair in it and a little stove? So that might be to the tourist bureau, I do not know. But I love where I live. I came here for a reason. I've been flooded twice. And, but I am here about this historic zoning, you know, it's ruined, okay?
Thank
It's
you.
ruined. And I would just want you to put yourself in my place. Do you want a big bar 2 blocks from me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Your
Thank-
time is up.
Thank you, Mayor.
Margaret Martin, 238 Third Avenue South. I have lived in downtown Franklin for 85 years. And I feel like I can probably speak to this. I'm not against the rezoning. But I want to point out that for years and years, we have diligently worked to make Franklin a special place that is inviting and attractive, and I'm not sure we haven't overdone it. But Envision Franklin as a document that was written by staff with the input from every citizen in this town who was interested. Everybody had a say in Envision Franklin. Low density inside McHatcher is one of the most important issues this document emphasizes. Downtown Franklin is very fragile, and we would lose its desirability in a minute if we allow intensive development to invade the areas around the Franklin Road corridor. The effectiveness of Envision Franklin would be diluted to the point that it would be unrecognizable or irrelevant. We could easily become
Ms.
any
Martin, I'm going to have
town
to interrupt you
USA.
to be fair to everybody.
And I plead with you, do not let this happen. Thank you.
I would appreciate it. No applause, no cat calls, no whistling. Thank you. Were you going to speak to the rezoning? Please come forward, Ms. Parker.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Parker. I live at 1210 Echo Lane here in Franklin. I've been a resident of Franklin for over 25 years, and I've served on the Heritage Foundation Board for the past 6 years. I'm opposed to the rezoning of the 3.2 acres in our long-standing historic overlay. The protection of this overlay is one of the only primary reasons that Franklin is what it is today. Without it, we are just another town. This is a citywide issue. It's not just a neighborhood issue. And it's not just about the neighbors and traffic and runoff and flooding. There's a bigger picture here. If we allow the rezoning of this property in the historic overlay, it will put every piece of property within the historic overlay in downtown Franklin at grave risk. The development or the rezoning is not a precedent that we want to set forward as stewards of this historical town. We are this town. We are stewards of this history. I implore you all to think about the real consequences of voting for the rezoning of this historic property.
Thank you. Your time's up, Ms. Parker. Anybody else that wanted to speak to the rezoning? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor?
I need to make a declaration before we. I need to make a declaration before we do the vote and before we get a motion on this.
Yeah, into the mic.
Well,
Yep.
it's in the mic, so that's about all I can do, okay? So I'm gonna make a declaration. 6 to 8 weeks ago, as we were leaving the meeting, one of the meetings here, Alderman Peterson and I left the meeting pretty close to being together. When we got out into the parking lot, we were discussing CSCC, Columbia State University. And that's where I went to school, that's where she taught. And I asked her if she knew Dr. Terlaley, who had passed away. She said no, and then we talked about a couple of other professors that were there. And then we talked about the appearance of CSCC in Columbia and the one here. We did not discuss Middle Eight. That was reported, and again, we think that's fine. That was reported to our city attorney, that there was possibly us, Ann and I, talking about the Middle Eight project after the meeting. That did not happen. The conversation was about professors who we had together, who taught with Ann, who I had. We were discussing the appearance of Columbia State in Columbia, who it's been there since, I guess, 1966 or 65, and the new building that we have out on Liberty Pike here in Franklin. But that was the crux of the conversation. It was not about Middle Eight. Now, that's not to discourage anyone who sees what they perceive to be something out of the ordinary or irregular. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't report it. It is our responsibility to report to you that what was reported did not occur.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second. Any discussion by the board? Alderman Peterson.
Well, first of all, I want to say, if you look, the rezoning says that it would be, maybe first, let's say, right now, the zoning there is R4, meaning 4 dwelling units per acre is what would be allowed. Whenever we go to Plan District, or PD, they have requested not 4 units to the acre, but 38 dwelling units per acre there. And so, in fact, that is most everything that they're expecting to build. That is, if you're looking at anything kind of close to downtown, I had planning give me some information about anything that was in like a mile around downtown. The only thing that was anything close to this was the Harpeth, which is really right downtown here, 34 units per acre. But let me tell you, everything else, including all of the apartment buildings that are close to downtown, are, 8 units to the acre, 15 units to the acre, much, much, much less than even half of what is being requested here. And think about this, 39 units per acre compared to many other apartments. And by the way, we went through, and not only did a 1-mile radius from downtown, but a 2-mile radius from downtown, and it was still, I think there was one that was 13 units to the acre. But this is so much beyond anything that is near downtown. This is more like all those apartments that are being built out on Carruthers, especially if you're going out Liberty Pike and to Carruthers, you'll see these huge apartment buildings and everything, but it's not anything like what is downtown. And so, to me, that is one of the real difficulties here. And because they have requested, they have said that they would remove a floor on one of the buildings, they're still saying they want, all these 38.19 units to the acre. So this is not, that may take care of one small thing, but it does not make anything that is similar to what is, as I say, even nearby downtown at all.
Alderman Berger.
I would just add to that, that Envision Franklin in 2017 did call for density in this place. It did call for multifamily in Envision Franklin. And I would not ever compare the huge standalone apartment buildings to what is being proposed here. This is an historic downtown. Anything coming into that area is sensitively designed. They've gone beyond what I would even envision them going beyond in the design, to be sensitive to the factory, to be sensitive to the historic area of Franklin. And so it would be dishonest and not right to compare what we see here on our screen, a beautiful development situated among trees across from a factory, to compare it to a large standing apartment building in Cool Springs around 65. Just would not. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? Vice Mayor?
The comments that were made just a few minutes ago were that they were eliminating a floor. But based upon that, I'm not sure that they know themselves what that equates to the number of units that's coming out of there. But it's anywhere from 20 to 30. So if they had 276, they're probably somewhere down around 250 now. And I'm not sure how that matches up with Ann's numbers, but is that pretty close to being correct? When they want to eliminate a floor, and that eliminates one of the height that's used that they've got. They then said that would equate somewhere around 20 to 30 units. I have no reason I have no reason to doubt that, because if you take off the floor, you're gonna take off some of the units. So what does that do? That doesn't do anything but make Envision Franklin be more acceptable, a better use than it is now. If you're looking for 277, 276?
I think right now it was 275.
Okay.
So if they take off a floor, they may or may not lose any units. Envision Franklin really doesn't speak to density in terms of numbers.
Okay.
We focus on the form that's going on the site, the massing and the scale. So, for example, you could have the same building and have 100 units or 10 units, just how big the units are inside. So I hope that answers your question a
I
little bit.
think that helps a great deal, yes.
Okay.
But what about the comparison from that to anything else that's within a 2-mile radius of this? Anything else within a 2-mile radius of this, other than the Harpeth, that is anywhere close, I'd say no more than half that density?
I don't have the numbers from the 2-mile radius that I gave you in front of me. I do have the 1-mile radius. So of the numbers I gave you, I can report those. The Madison is at 9.5 dwelling units per acre. Executive House is 14.22 dwelling units per acre. Colony House is 9.22 dwelling units per acre. The Arlington is 11.5 dwelling units per acre. General's Retreat is 15.10 dwelling units per acre. The Harpeth is 34.17 dwelling units per acre. Jameson Station is broken up into 2 sections. Block A is south of Liberty Pike. It was approved at up to 12 dwelling units per acre. And blocks B and C, which is now the Everly, is 4.95 dwelling units per acre.
Well,
So
could you
a
repeat
third
that?
of what they're requesting this time. So it's much, much, much more dense.
The Harpeth is
No,
not a third.
could you- yeah,
The
could-
Harpeth
No,
is-
the Harpeth is not.
The Harpeth is not, and I feel like we're kind of discounting the Harpeth,
Yeah.
No,
which is the
excuse
most
me.
equivalent structure that could
I'll
compare to
recognize
this.
you in a minute, Alderman.
I'm sorry?
I said I would recognize Alderman Berger.
sorry.
She was trying to speak.
I feel like, I understand the logic, but as I sit and think about the most like and kind comparable developments, if I'm thinking about density, use, and impact to a community, I'm not going to look at something that's not similar to what we're looking at, which the Harpeth is the most similar to what we're looking at density. So when you think about that, you think about traffic in and around the Harpeth. Is the Harpeth adding, hundreds and hundreds of cars to the to the streets? Is it causing the backlog around that area, or is it not? I think those are the things. So I hear what you're saying, Alderman Peterson, but I don't think you can just throw out the Harpeth's density as irrelevant, because it's the most like and kind development compared to what we're looking at. So respectfully, but I think it actually helps me to know that the Harpeth's 36.5 units per acre.
Okay, is there anything else you can think of besides the Harpeth?
Well,
that
there's
is
not
anywhere-
really-
Is that not, is
back-
less than
back and
half
forth.
this density?
I understand and I respect your opinion for sure, but that's my point of view when I'm looking at comparing densities.
Alderman Berger.
Well, I was just basically going to say what Alderman Baggett just said, because I really don't think it's appropriate to compare it to all these other ones. What's in the neighborhood, what's nearby, and the biggest development, remember, well, I guess you weren't on the board at the time, but all the ups and downs we went to and went through for the Harpeth at that density. And they said, oh my gosh, it's going to kill downtown for the traffic and everything. We really noticed the traffic. I mean, you can't even see the traffic going in and out of the apartments, let alone the hotel. Once in a while, I've been down there, I go that area a lot, and I was just thinking about the other day how negligible that we noticed the traffic. Could you please tell me again the density of Middle Eight versus the density of the Harpeth again? What are those numbers?
Yes. The density proposed with the Middle Eight is 38.19 dwelling units an acre.
And that will probably be reduced. Okay, go ahead, because they're taking off the story.
You'll be
Go ahead.
approving that number.
Yeah,
They may or
right.
not build
Yeah.
that number. The Harpeth is 34.17 dwelling units per
Yeah,
acre.
it's probably going to be very even. All right, thank you.
Any other comments
Appreciate
from the
that.
board?
Nope.
Seeing none, you ready to vote? Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Hanson,
No.
Alderman Peterson,
No.
Alderman Berger,
Yes,
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 6-2 for the rezoning. We'll now go to item number 4. This is a public hearing. Consideration Resolution 2023-30, a resolution approving a development plan for Middle Eight PUD subdivision with one modification of development standards, parking for the property located east of Franklin Road and south of Liberty Pike, located at 209 Old Liberty Pike. Amy?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. For this item, I'd like to review the history of the project briefly and the proposed MOS, and then I'll end with the applicant's request for an additional condition of approval related to building height. As previously stated, prior to submitting the development plan for staff review and planning commission recommendation, the applicant went to the Historic Zoning Commission on February 14th to receive a preliminary recommendation of approval for the overall height, massing, and scale. The applicant then received an approval from the Planning Commission for an amendment to Envision Franklin, creating a special consideration for this site, which allowed consideration of additional stories when underground parking was provided and when it was contextually appropriate to adjacent structures. It also supported small amounts of community-centric retail. The proposed plan provides a 75-foot naturalistic screening buffer adjacent to the Truett House. Then, along the west and southern borders, provides single-family or duplex units. The site then transitions in height from west to east, first with a townhome building, then with 2 multifamily buildings. The applicant is requesting one modification of standards for parking of the multifamily units. The request reduces the required parking calculations for each bedroom type so that the parking required for the constructed number of units is based on calculations, not an overall parking multiplier or number. The applicant provided documentation of a nationally recognized parking minimums for similarly scaled buildings, as well as documentation of current parking demands at several multifamily complexes within Franklin. Based on the information provided, staff supports this MOS request. The applicant will be requesting a motion to be made to reduce the number of stories of the easternmost building as a condition of approval. Staff recommends that should the BOMA wish to grant this request, that a motion be made to amend the conditions of approval to include a condition that the number of stories of the east residential building, Building 2, shall be reduced to 4 stories fronting Liberty Pike and 5 stories adjacent to Foster Lane. Staff supports this request, supports the MOS, and recommends approval of Resolution 2023-30. Planning Commission also recommended approval of the development plan and the MOS.
Okay, thank you, Amy. And we'll now go to public comments. The plan is people were given a number, and we'll bring people up in tranches of 10, rather. There were a few people that got here early before we started numbering, and so I'm going to ask them, but I'm about to omit the developers, so go ahead, and that's what we're going to do once you're through.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Mayor. This is very brief. Again, my name is Gary Vogan with Kaiser Vogan Design, representing Treeland Development. Thank you for this time. Angie's passing something around to you, but in consideration of our application, as Amy has mentioned, we, the applicant and the clients, respectfully request that the Mayor and Board of Aldermen amend our application to reduce the number of stories of the east residential building, number 2, at the intersection of Liberty Pike and Daniels Drive, adjacent Jamison Station, to 4 stories fronting Liberty Pike and 5 stories fronting Foster Lane. The revised proposed building height will be plus or minus 49 feet at Liberty Pike, as opposed to the current submittal, it is 57 feet. We measure Jamison Station, it is at 52 feet 9 inches. We are proposing 49 feet, so we are lower than Jamison Station at that corner. Along with this motion, it will affect the project's ability to provide a significant amount of workforce housing opportunities. We believe that the Middle 8 will continue to contribute to the current goals of Envision Franklin, play a vital role in the future factory district, and be responsive to the community. We hold fast to our vision to create a new, creative, connected experience and centerpiece that enhances the existing community and a community of walkable downtown Franklin. We believe the exemplary design of this project will set the bar of the city of Franklin very high in this district. In addition, for the record, Angie has passed out a set of documents that Eric Stuckey sent to you last night. It is documents that relate to misleading, in some cases, false statements regarding the Middle 8. It's regarding parking demands, Old Liberty Pike need improvements, historical significance, regarding the Truett House and the land itself and subsurface exploration. That's in this document. Talks about flooding and letters from Eric Jacobson and some more activities on the site. So I'll leave that with you. It's in your information. You've seen the packet of the development plan we have submitted, very detailed, very oriented, and point specific on what we are doing, meeting all the stringent rules that the city requires us to do. And we respectfully request your vote for this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, we're sorry we didn't let Tony Sharp and Julian Bibb and Rachel Finch get a number, but we'll start with them as the first public speakers with 1 minute each, and then we'll follow with the next 10 people, and I think staff is trying to direct you to the microphone in that first 10. So if you'll go ahead and line up, because we have lots of public comments and... Oh, please, at the speaker stand, please.
He's waiting on you.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. My name is Julian Bibb, and I live at 918 Fair Street. I favor the Middle 8 development. It fits into the plans for the future of the factory district, and with the owner's willingness to drop a floor, it is consistent with the build-out that already has occurred in that part of Liberty Pike. Its owners are people who have invested their lives in our community for over 30 years, and since they make their own home here, they will care more about the quality of this project than anyone else. With those foundations in mind, what I see is that the Middle Eight is an opportunity for Franklin to secure the future of the factory district. In effect, it is part two of the factory dream. Part one began when this board conveyed the factory to Maryland and Calvin Lehue. This is an opportunity to ensure the sustainability of this important area. It is attractively designed, it provides diverse housing choices, and combined with the existing residential and retail development along this section of Liberty Pike, it will bring a sustaining vitality to the factory district. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board.
And when you hear that door chime, that means a minute's up. I give you a little bit of liberty to finish your comments. Tony Sharp? If Tony's not,
He's right there.
No.
what are you here to talk about? 2023-44. What number is that? I'm sorry.
Number
Number
6.
6. Lincoln.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll keep rolling. Rachel Finch?
Good evening. My name is Rachel Finch, and I'm the Senior Director of Preservation and Education for the Heritage Foundation of Williamson County. So when the Truett property was listed on the National Register in 1988, it was recognized under two criteria, A and C, architecture and history, along with its 5.2 acres. Given the proposed Middle Eight development, the Tennessee Historical Commission recently noted that the 3.2 acres associated with the historic property would go through a formal review process at the local level and by the Tennessee State Review Board with the National Park Service making the final decision on its potential of delisting and/or boundary decreases to the National Register nomination associated with the historic Truett property. We strongly urge the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to consider the ramifications of the Middle Eight development within the Franklin Road Historic District, disrupting a significant Civil War landscape without considering from the developer a comprehensive preservation plan keenly focused on the property's history, including ground-penetrating radar and an archaeological survey. Anything short would not align best practices in historic preservation, particularly in a community that's made preservation the focal point of our community, economic revitalization of Main Street, and heritage tourism. In closing, we respectfully request the Board of Mayor and Aldermen vote no for this iteration of the Middle Eight development. Thank you.
Please come on up. You've got a number, and you know what number you are. Please keep it rolling. Thank you.
David Garrett, 109 Jennings Street, Franklin, Tennessee. I'm the chairman of the board for the Heritage Foundation of Williamson County, and the board has voted not to support this current plan because of two reasons. One, we believe all the buildings need to be a maximum of 3 stories, not just lowering one building by 1 story. Secondly, and this is to allow it to blend in with the historic character of the Franklin Road as specified in the local historic design guidelines. Also to preserve the fuse shed and also all the homes around it. Also, we're not supporting because we believe this plan needs to have this program needs to have a preservation plan that includes ground penetrating radar and an architectural survey of the property. And these are the type of things the Heritage Foundation has done with its own properties. The reason is once this is developed, you'll never have any proof of what's happened on this property in the future. If we do it now, these penetrating radar, et cetera, we will know what was there and can interpret it for the future.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Houghton. I'm the homeowner at 116 Old Liberty Pike. I guess I'm a farmer, but I've been a global CEO of a well-known business before, and I believe I've met one or two of you individually, although perhaps not in this environment. I believe government to be a key institution of society, but I do have to admit I'm pretty puzzled here today. And by the way, you did say we had 2 minutes to speak when we signed up, so not 1. And however long the residents wish to speak, I'd remind this body of its purpose in the first place, respectfully. I guess the first thing, Mayor Moore, is that the applause which you asked us to restrict is a form of free speech. And I mean, sir, even the president pauses during great statements, and that woman probably deserves another round of applause because she's been living here longer than most of y'all been alive, and I think she can see this is wrong. Anyone that drives around this area can see the signs against this development and understand what the residents think. This is wrong. I do know a little something about land conservation that my neighbor spoke about, as I own a 25-acre farm in Hickman County, but 116 is my home. The developer is an independently wealthy individual addressing this body about needing less and sharing the town while trying to drop a high-density rent city to be filled with people that don't live here permanently and will perpetually make him wealthy. My father's sitting in the front row. He's in the rental business for 45 years, and let me tell you, he was
You'll go ahead and
profitable enough that when
wind
he
up,
decided to
please,
move to
sir.
Franklin, he bought whichever house he'd like. The residents do not want this, and it's that simple. And I'm less worried about the open hearts, as my neighbor spoke about, and more concerned about destroying this historic piece of Franklin and turning it into Cool Springs, which we all know is as rough and ugly as your typical Walmart aisle. Thank you so much for your time, and I would urge you to take all the time in the world to listen to the residents of this town. Thank you.
That's right.
I'm gonna,
We were
there is a
told we
code of
had 2
etiquette,
minutes.
and I do have the opportunity to run this meeting and ask that you abide by our code of etiquette, and ask you not to applaud as a courtesy to us so we can make sure that we hear everybody. I have the prerogative. Pardon? I'm sorry, sir. Do we get to have the 2 minutes? No, ma'am, you don't. It's my prerogative to allocate the time for each speaker. We have 58 speakers on this issue only. So no, sir. I'm sorry I even communicated with the audience. That's not normal for me to do that. So, apologize, ma'am. Go ahead.
My name is Alice Baker. I'm a 5-year resident of Franklin, and Jason Potts, I'm in his ward, and I live far away from the proposed Middle 8, and I only found out because of the signs of the neighbors on Franklin Road and Liberty, which all of us pass by probably many times a week. And I thought it was kind of sneaky the way things have happened here, and so I wanted to speak out. And the owners of this historical property for like 30 years, it just like really catches my attention that they only told their neighbors in April about their long ago plans to do what they're doing. So that's cool. And they said they wanted to create a diverse neighborhood. They said this, they were quoted as saying this. So I'm thinking diverse, it sounds very narrow and elite to me. In fact, it seems targeted, a very targeted audience. In fact, even what do you say, a captive audience. And I'm thinking that maybe in their next plans, they'll have a tunnel to the factory. And so, I don't know, but I'm just saying
Thank you,
that,
Ms. Baker.
don't you wonder what the strong connection
Thank you, Ms.
connection
Baker.
is between the factory and this development?
Ms. Baker, thank you.
I hope you don't hear this music that I'm hearing through my hearing device. But anyway,
Ms. Baker?
so I'm just saying, is anybody else wonder about this strong connection? Is it just me? But maybe some of you
Ms.
do
Baker,
suspect
we're
that
gonna
there's
ask you
a
to
strong
stop
connection,
so we
and
can
some of
continue to
you
move
will
on.
speak up if you know what it is. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Guess she doesn't hear. What music is she hearing? Did she say music? Okay.
Father Edward Steiner, I'm pastor of St. Philip Church, just across the Harpeth River Bridge from the proposed development. And I would respectfully ask, Mr. Mayor, please don't tell my congregation I agreed to speak to a timer.
Good one.
Yeah,
We need that.
that was one of my parishioners who just said hallelujah. I'm not opposed to the development. But as a relatively new resident of Franklin who grew up in historic Chattanooga and who watched the slow slide of Nashville out losing its total history, my objection is that this city has wonderful historic codes. We wanted to put a new sign up in front of our church, replace one that was falling down. It took us 2 years to get through historic zoning and regulations to get our sign put up. Did I complain? I groused a lot, let me tell you. But did I really complain to anybody? No, because I know that the rules keep Franklin, Franklin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll take the next 10.
Hello. I'm 11, so I guess I'm the next 10. My name is Nick Campy. I'm one of the founding members of the Stop the Middle Eight. A lot of people are going to speak to specific items, but what I'm going to speak to is what we know. We're not naive that during the original proposal to the historic, they promoted this development as affordable housing. They had to come out and clarify that and say it's going to be market rate. We're not naive that when they were talking about approval for mixed use, they described the commercial usage as being a bodega or a coffee shop that you could go get a $10 coffee. Now, 2 meetings ago, they talked about it being a restaurant. You're not naive about the variance in the parking that they asked for. They talked about them going to someplace on Wednesday at 1 a.m. I don't care about Wednesday at 1 a.m. I care about Thursday, 5 p.m. with a restaurant. Where are these people going to park? I ask you not to be naive about the project and usage and density. You guys represent Franklin. 1,800 people signed a petition against this. You guys
You'll
need to
finish
vote
up,
as
please,
people are
Mr.
telling you to
Campy.
vote, not what you think is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm not going to tolerate that very much longer. I've asked you kindly. If you continue, I'll have to ask you to leave. So I'm sorry. But we're trying to listen to folks talking to us. We're trying to be gracious and give them a little bit over a minute is what everybody's been taking. So I would ask that you not clap, please. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Mayor. I'm reading on behalf of Steve and Sharon Brugman, who are residents of Old Liberty Pike, Wilco County residents for 19 years. They currently live on the north side of that street, so Middle 8 will be their backdoor neighbors, and they're for it. They've said that the mayor and Franklin City leadership have done a fantastic job maintaining and creating a city that we all love. They emphasize creating because it's so important for a city to grow and change. They believe that the neighborhood will change with the addition of Middle 8, but they truly believe it's a positive change for the following reasons. The vision for the factory district. It can only be assured long-term success with adding people within walking distance of that facility. They assume that many people oppose Franklin Brownstone project, the hotel, and Jameson, but they have never met anyone that says those changes and growth were anything but a positive. The Middle 8 will also be a significant tribute to the Franklin tax base. When they purchased their home, they knew it might not be a 7-acre field for a backyard always, but they believe this project is what it needs. Thank you.
Well, could you, Mr. Mayor, may I point of order? May I ask who you were reading that for again, because we did not hear the name?
Steve and Sharon Bergman.
Bergman?
Bergman, B-U-R-G-M-A-N.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm Gail Haddock, and I live at 213 Lewisburg Avenue. We are blessed in Franklin to have the Cool Springs area for large-scale development. It has the capacity and infrastructure to handle both residential and commercial projects that would dwarf downtown Franklin. There is more space there, both ground space and what I will call looking around space. Visually, there seems to be more sky there. The mass and height of relatively dense, high, multi-story buildings don't loom as large there as they would downtown. As it is now proposed, the mass, height, and density of the Middle 8 buildings are out of all proportion to the immediate Franklin Road, downtown Franklin environments in which they will exist. Try to use your mind's eye to visualize these structures. I think we need a new motto for Franklin: don't dwarf downtown. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany White. I own the property at 20 Daniels Drive. This is the first row home behind the townhomes at Jameson Station. I've been a realtor in Franklin for 18 years and have a background in civil engineering. This process is arduous because this plan is not the right choice for the property. Losing one level and perhaps 47 units is not enough. I'm opposed to the Middle Eight for these reasons. The extreme change in density from the existing single-family zoning. The condos at Jameson are 9.5 units per acre for comparison. Building height does not follow historic guidelines. The historic overlay is set. It is not to pick and choose what is included. Parking for the development does not satisfy the city's parking requirements. I wrote a letter to the editor and about the parking study, and it was also sent to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. One space per one-bedroom unit is not enough. If this project is allowed to bend the rules and get variances for building height, density, and parking requirements, the next development will want to be even taller and more dense. When will it stop? Is this what we want downtown Franklin to become? I urge you to protect our neighborhood and preserve the character and charm of this gateway to historic downtown Franklin. Thank you. I do have some handouts as well.
Lisa Alexander, Ward 2, 160 Lancaster Drive. Why is the city willing to fund Creekside on the backs and dollars of our historic community? In an effort to get our leaders to understand the perils of rezoning this parcel, we extended invitations to all of the aldermen to walk the block. During one, I commented that high-density housing belonged across from Iron Horse on Mac Hatcher and not in a residential neighborhood. This particular alderman told me I needed to think about it differently, that the construction of the Middle Eight would allow the city to preserve green space and prevent multi-story housing lining the corridor. At the time, I didn't understand why they were connected, but now I think they do. I do. Purchasing Creekside puts financial stress on the city, and it's an unexpected project when Franklin is committed to a massive city hall renovation. But allocating financial resources wisely does not mean this board can make our neighbors sacrificial lambs. Changing zoning and approving high density to increase tax revenue doesn't justify trading out one historical property for another. It's against what Franklin purports itself to be. For those of us whom you represent, I say your words were conciliatory, but your actions have let us down. Much like removing one story of a high-density building isn't a negotiated compromise, simply a calculated gesture. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen Morrison. I've been a resident here since 1996. We live in Jameson in the unit that's literally the corner of Liberty and Daniels. We believe the location of the Middle Eight is the exact right place for strategic density. It's appropriate architecturally next to Jameson Station and the factory, and its presence actually enriches the experience of Franklin by facilitating the success of the factory. It also creates some diversity of housing that allows us to preserve other areas where density is not the best choice. We agree with Envision Franklin and our city planners that designated this land in the Envision Franklin plan in orange for multifamily. We also believe we have the absolute best possible scenario of developers that care about the preservation of our history and the charm of our town than we will ever have in Toby and Amanda McKeon. It's literally their home. If the Middle Eight fails and the McKeons eventually tire of the hurdles that are placed in front of him, there will be another development, and likely one that doesn't care about the preservation of our town, and likely one that has significant resources to fight the hurdles. Then we've missed the opportunity, and we have paved the way for exactly what we fear. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Christy Kirkpatrick, and I'm a 20-year Franklin resident. I'm reading this letter on behalf of Miles Johnson of 107 Harlansdale Court. He is writing in support for the Middle Eight development. He owns a house on Old Liberty Pike that abuts the project's south border, and he looks forward to the impact that this development will have on the entire factory district. He's a business owner as well here in Franklin. He says, while many believe that adding single-family or less dense projects is a better route, I contend that folks who live at the Middle Eight will be much more likely to park their cars or defer to walking or biking to the factory, to surrounding businesses, and to downtown. This is exactly the type of development that encourages more walkable opportunities into downtown. This is a beautiful, thoughtful development that will be aesthetically pleasing. It will enhance the factory district and complements an already developed high-density development next door, Jameson Station. Jameson Station is the precedent for this type of development. The architecture fits perfectly on Liberty Pike. It will be the genesis of millions of additional tax dollars for Franklin that will enable the city to continue with sidewalks, parks, and the amenities that we've grown so fond of in Franklin. I encourage you to support this project as well and not let the loudest voices in the room dictate the decision. Miles Johnson.
Evening. My name's Ed Ossie. I live at 118 Lancaster Drive. And I just have a quick question here for the engineers that developed it, if they're around the traffic plan. There's repeated mention of additional parking up to 44 spots on somewhere named Foster Lane. And the closest Foster Lane I've been able to find is 69 miles away from here. So if they could tell me if that's a mistake or what were they meaning when they talked about Foster Lane. Thank you.
The engineering department heard what you said, and I've got your card here, and they can contact you.
Hi, I'm Amy Wells. I live at 303 Gillette Drive, Franklin, Tennessee. And yes, I'm in the county, but my husband will be having an office here in Franklin, so I think this still will affect him and his customers, clients, visitors. With regard to what Mr. Baggett said, I think that comparing the Harpeth is not appropriate, where you have people staying there that won't be leaving with their cars, they're pedestrians. In this apartment, they will be leaving constantly for workouts, for meeting friends, for going to work, if it's not here. Totally different. Also, Ms. Berger, with all due respect, apartments are apartments, and these historic buildings or whatever they're going to look like, it doesn't matter the facade. The numbers inside will matter. The density matters. Okay, yes, capitalism is good. Property owners have a right to do with what they want, but just like Brownland Farms, when it negatively impacts other people's quality of life or safety, it is not okay, and it must be discussed and decided by all. I'm a native Nashvilleian. We moved here in 1997. So how many native Nashvilleians do you think are happy with what happened there? You're doing too much too soon. There's got to be other solutions. And not everyone can be in downtown. I'm sorry, not everyone can be at the beach. Not everyone can be at the lake. Not everyone can be in Belmead. We can make accommodations, but don't ruin something that is good in the process.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I had an Erin Miller that was number 14, and I don't know if she decided not to speak, but I don't want to. So we'll continue on then. Oh.
Yeah, hi, I'm Erin. I guess I wanted to make sure that the discussion of the land that it's on was a federal encampment for Black Americans who were fighting in the Civil War. And I haven't heard any discussion on how that's going to be properly taken care of. I grew up as, someone that really values their history, and it would just be tragic if that wasn't taken into account.
We're ready for the next 10. Ms. Parker, did you want to speak again on the development plan? Pardon? Please.
Good evening. My name is Amber McKelvey. I'm at 1501 Amesbury Lane. I'm a recent resident of Franklin. My husband and I made a very intentional relocation a little more than a year ago because we believe Franklin offers a life in a city with economic vitality, a vibrant downtown, abundant green space, historic buildings, freedom, civic engagement, and charm. To say we've enjoyed calling Franklin home is an understatement. We love it. We love it so much that I felt compelled as a new resident and a part of the city's future to be here tonight to encourage you to vote no on the Middle 8 project as it stands today. As a former resident of New Orleans, I watched firsthand how development can permanently alter the character of a historic district. As a business owner, I can appreciate the importance of growth and opportunity. I implore the Middle 8 and the City of Franklin to see the opportunity that lies before you. The opportunity to be intentional, study the land and preserve the history. Without an archaeological survey and ground penetrating radar, we will never fully unlock the history trapped and preserved below the surface. Be strategic. Don't let the Green Gateway into Franklin become a traffic congested corridor with a population density that overwhelms the area and lacks the infrastructure to support explosive growth. Be mindful of the preservation of green space and how it impacts local wildlife, mental health, and the visual awe of Franklin. Be respectful of the neighbors. Anything exceeding 3 stories is going to have a permanent impact on the skyline and the character of the neighborhood. Be bold to set a standard to create a roadmap not just for Franklin, but for any community with a historic and culturally significant space that is looking to integrate private growth, community engagement, and strategic city planning. I want to see what's best for Franklin. I sincerely hope you vote no as it stands today. Thank you.
My name is Doug Mann. I've lived at an extension of Old Liberty Pike, Lancaster Drive, for 50 years. And I would just like to yield 5 seconds of my time to each one of you to imagine if you lived, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, if you could imagine living on Old Liberty Pike in Daniels. Just imagine that for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. How would you feel? And I come representing the death of a neighborhood. I feel like I've been asked to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic because I see this sinking. And I would say if I was going to do something historically, I would take that property and do bungalows in accordance to what was done in 1929 and divide that up. And also, because of the African-American situation, is to donate a residence in the midst of that to the former slave and their families. Please do what you need to do, but I'm grieved with the outcome. Thank you.
My name is Kelsey Sasser, and I live at the Harpeth. I want to start by saying that the Harpeth was built in a commercial area. This development will be built in an existing residential area, so there is a difference. I also want to address the underground parking garage of the Middle 8 and the blasting that may occur to create it. If you Google rock blasting damage in Middle Tennessee, you will see multiple articles detailing damage that has happened to homes. Residents in Spring Hill, Murfreesboro, Hendersonville, Nashville, and even Franklin have all had homeowners suffering cracks in their walls and foundations, and some have had holes in their roofs from flying debris. All of these instances happened even when state regulation had been met. State officials cannot rectify the situation by forcing the blasting company or development to fix the damage or pay for repairs, and most people's home insurance doesn't cover blasting-related damages. Do any of you want damage done to the homes of existing residents or the historic homes that Franklin takes such pride in? In the Middle 8 vision book, the developers decided to use a quote by Jane Jacobs. She said, "There is no logic that can be superimposed on the city. People make it, and it is to them, not buildings, that we must fit our plans." That is exactly what needs to happen. The plans of the Middle 8 need to be restructured to fit the people that it would affect the most, its neighbors. And out of a precaution for the safety of those who live in the neighborhood, an underground garage needs to be rejected. Thank you.
I don't know where you are in your numbers, but I'm number 25.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Melanie St. Amant. I'm at 126 Old Liberty Pike. That's in Ward 4, where I also believe that this development is going. And I would like to remind our alderman that he did run on a platform of maintaining the rural character of Franklin. And this project is a direct antithesis of that. So my main concern, although I share concerns of my neighbors, is with flooding. And the one-story reduction does nothing to decrease the concrete footprint of this plan. So right now, Old Liberty Pike sits about 25 feet roughly below on the south side of where this development is planned, and water does run off, although the 7.2 acres right now soak up a lot of that water. The plan itself has drainage pipes going underneath the roads, which will have to be torn up to put the pipes in, and it will dump directly into Liberty Creek. When the Harpeth backs up, Liberty Creek backs up, and we flood. Almost all of Liberty Pike floods. In 2021, I had water over my knee in the whole first story of my home because Liberty Creek had backed up. The city of Franklin does not have any drainage in place at all on Old Liberty Pike. I just asked the city, fix Old Liberty Pike. Fix their drainage problems before you let a project like this go through. I would say that building the Middle 8, as it's currently proposed, would be like building a house on top of a faulty foundation, where the builder assures you his house plans are so good, the crumbling foundation won't be a problem. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Gabriel Patillo. I love Franklin. Been here since 1996. People are rushing here because Franklin is amazing. And as a city, we've been blessed to be able to accommodate that. Hotels, brownstones, and apartment complexes have changed the skyline, and it's been tastefully and beautifully done. And I believe that the Middle 8 will add to that while providing much-needed attainable housing. And I don't think there's a better location. I personally have worked in the factory off and on for the last 15 years. My family and I are so excited about the dreams that they have for the factory district. And with more and more locally owned restaurants and shops arriving, I feel the Middle 8 will provide the population needed to support these businesses, as well as provide an opportunity for the people that are employed by these businesses to live in the community they serve. Most importantly, though, I believe Franklin will still be Franklin. The things we love about the square and Main Street will remain: the hallmark small town feel, the street festivals, the walkability. The Middle 8 will enhance these things by being an invitation to people that want to be here, that want to support this city, and that have dreamt of living here. The Middle 8's approach to housing will help people attain that dream. Thank you very much.
I've got Craig Morrison.
I read on behalf.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry about that. And then Pam Lewis. And I don't see Pam Lewis, so go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. As I said, my name is Ed Lewis. I'm a Franklin resident. I'm an owner of a historical Franklin home that historically was called Rebels Rest at 176 Eagles Glen. My family moved here from Chicago, one of the most walkable cities in the world. My daughter and son are fortunate to be able to walk to high school here in Franklin. And walkability is something that will be appreciated by this new generation of Franklin residents at the Middle 8. They'll be able to live, work, and play within a short walk of their homes. Lastly, the property owners of this property have been stewards of this historical property, and the Middle 8 design will be a beautiful addition to the Franklin Factory District. I encourage you to approve the Middle 8.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Phillips. I live at 1109 Davenport in Franklin. I moved here 2 years ago. I'm from California, and I saw firsthand my town get destroyed in Altadena, California, Pasadena, California, San Marino, Huntington Beach, riots, endless buildings being built, Pacific City, which was a factory-type scenario, packing house in Anaheim. I'm here because I thought it was one of the last places left in the country that was beautiful and quaint, and that's why I'm here. We all have heard the stories, and I've seen my home ruined.
Good evening. I'm Leah Allers, 220 Devereux Court, in downtown Franklin. I moved, my friend Stephanie, we both lived in California. I moved here 3 years ago. Grew up in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, grew up in all those places. My whole life watched this very thing go down, and that's why we're so frustrated, because I think you guys don't know how good you have it here. It's so beautiful, it's so pristine. There's still so much nature left. There's still so much history. As a girl from a southern family, my mom was born and raised Williamsburg, Virginia. My granny Franny's from North Carolina. I love history. I love the beauty here, the safety, the community. You guys have such a gem, and we just want you guys to preserve it, because once it's gone, and we have single-handedly watched this stuff get ruined by greed, by overdevelopment, and by short-sightedness. So I am against this development. Thank you.
I've got Pam Lewis.
She was sitting over there, but I was here.
Okay, we'll just put her over there then. And Lisa Ann Flowers, is she still here? Okay, thank you. So that was Leah Allers, so we're ready for number 32 to 40. How's that? Brian Fowler.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? I've lived with my wife and 2 kids in Franklin, in downtown Franklin, for 10 years now, and we've seen so many incredible developments over that time. As a successful young creative, I've been eagerly awaiting the day that I could see the factory district of Franklin finally come into its full potential. It's always felt like an overlooked part of our town, and now with the sidewalks and the hotel and everything leading into it and thriving new young businesses, it feels like we're about to see it finally take off. This is one of the biggest reasons I'm in full support of the Middle 8. Not only does it look like it will be an absolutely beautiful addition to the aesthetic of our town, but it will bring population density to an area that actually needs it. I was in the factory the other day, like a Friday night, and the Sky Bar was just vacant. There was nobody in there. And so I think this is going to help bring an influx to that area. So many new businesses and restaurants that are coming, and they need customers. What better way to naturally infuse these businesses with growth and success than to put a hub for young professionals right across the street?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead,
Thank you for your
please.
time. My name is Dan Pereno. I live at 106 Church Street. I've been a full-time resident for approximately 5 years. However, I've been visiting Franklin since I was 4 years old back in the early 70s. I believe it's human nature to point out when we don't like something, whether it's a review of a restaurant, et cetera. All too often, we don't stand up when something is right. That's because of that. That's why I'm being very intentional standing here today to voice my support of this project. As a family, we try to walk from our home in downtown, actually the other way, to the factory, and each Saturday to try to support the local vendors. I think it's just fantastic to be able to have the opposite flow of people coming from that, coming the other way to support the businesses also on Main Street. How amazing it would be to have more local residents from various backgrounds to call downtown Franklin home. How appropriate would it be to have a place for our next generation, starting their families, to be able to call downtown Franklin home as well. I had more, but I thought I had 2 minutes, so I'll respect the time.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Alderman. Thank y'all for your service. I'm Darlene Dyson. My husband Brandon and I have lived in this area for 42 years, since we got married when I was an infant. We love Franklin. We actually built a new home in Leapers Fork years ago, and used all architectural elements from a house torn down in Franklin because we love the preservation of our town. We love what this town stands for. What I do want to say is, with my white hair and my age, I don't like change either. I realize that. But I also realize that we have to be open to change. Change is on us. We want to make sure we do it well. I fully support this project. We do need the density across from the Franklin factory. I love that factory. I remember when it was a shell. But I really struggle because I hear so many people who have been welcomed with open arms into our community to enjoy all that we love, now saying, excuse me, now that I have what I love, I need y'all to hold the gate for everybody else who would love to be here and enjoy this. So I think Trulin has done an exceptional job trying to do it and do it well, and I fully support it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joel Avila. I live at 121 East Lake Court. I'm speaking in support of the Middle 8. And I just wanted to let you all know that I actually didn't know much about this project until about a couple of months ago, and I learned more about it through public sources. I bike my 7- and 4-year-old child to the St. Philip Learning Center, the homeschool co-op, and I'm so excited that they get to grow up in a place where the Middle 8 is going to be bringing growth and vitality and being able to a place that thoughtfully adapts our history into the future. And so I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
I did find one other card that got out of order, and that's Alan Arender. So, but you come on and I'll just, Alan can work his way into the group. Yeah, please.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Tammy Lennox, and I've lived here for close to 30 years. I have 4 boys, all born right here in Franklin. And this is a town that they've loved and known since they were born. If you can drink a town dry, they have done it. I even heard a story years later of them sleeping under the huge Christmas tree on the square one December. But who knows how many steps they've taken in the downtown's Franklin streets. They've also served this community already in their young years, and because of this history and love for this place, they will continue to serve and care for it as they begin their careers and families. And they'll do it in a very personal way, knowing the people make this place what it is, not buildings. I want my kids and grandkids to be able to live in their hometown, but right now, the lack of mixed housing makes this nearly impossible. I'm supportive of the Middle Eight because it will bring some diversity to the current housing options and allow my kids to continue to call this their hometown. Thank you.
Jump the line. Alan Arnder, the managing partner with Holiday Properties for the redevelopment of the factory. And I'm here in support of Middle Eight. We certainly are embarking on, the factory's still an experiment. You know, the community over the last 70 years before Calvin took it, the community rose up to support the factory many times. And that's where we are now. We need the factory district to make this successful. That includes having housing, having residents close by. The city's made the city and a lot of people have made a big investment in this area over time. The walkability from Harlansdale to downtown to the factory district and the future of what this can be. And this is one part of seeing a return on that investment, getting people into this area, it being a vibrant place for people to see the streets and activate. I think Truland's done a great job. You know, what's too dense? You know, I think density where you can still take the stairs if you need to, that works. Where light's coming in through the buildings aren't blocking the daylight. That's the kind of density that this area needs, and I think that's what Truland's delivering.
Hi, I'm Catherine Wilson. I've lived in Franklin 26 years and currently at 206 Franklin Road, walkable to downtown Franklin and the factory. I've taken time to review the Middle Eight proposal, and I think the variety of housing options, small apartments, penthouses, duplexes, and single family will benefit our precious community. I appreciate the several green spaces for gathering and the softening of the look of the complex. I like that the community amenities will be available to all Middle Eight residents, not dependent on their housing choices. I like the architectural edge of the complex along Liberty Pike. I appreciate the way the garage entrances are hidden from the street side of the back of the property in consideration of the old Liberty neighbors. I believe that this project fits perfectly with this historical context of our beautiful city, and I'm in favor. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christy McClellan. I live at 103 Meridian Court here in town. I've been in Franklin a little over 20 years. And I am here to stand in the place for the Middle Eight, but it's actually on behalf of congregants at my church where I serve on staff, students at the college where I teach here in town. So many of them work in this city and cannot afford to live here. I've listened to every single person and everything that's been said tonight, and I understand the diversity of opinions. Different people care about different things, and I am just standing in this moment as I ask around the city, different development projects, who's even trying to provide workforce housing in this city. And when I heard about Middle Eight and the intentionality to try to, even in a sliver, try to address that issue, I am here passionately on behalf of my students and congregants and passionately for the Middle Eight project.
Hello, my name is Paige Pitts, and I currently live at 418 Eddy Lane, which is within walkability of this potential project. I've lived in Franklin for over 30 years and in the downtown area for over 25. I came to Nashville right out of college as a school teacher, and thankfully all those years ago I was able to find housing to begin my career and make Franklin my home. I have enjoyed raising my family here and have been able to invest in this community for the last 30 years. I am for the Middle Eight project as it will bring a cohesive and beautiful completion to what the city has already put in place for that area of town. It will be a welcome addition to the vision the city has already put in motion for that factory district. I believe it will be very cohesive. Secondly, the Middle Eight provides workforce housing. Don't get me wrong, I fully understand that it doesn't solve the problem of affordable housing in Franklin, but it does bring a development that will bring some opportunity for those who otherwise could not afford it. We need the next generation, the next teachers and firemen, et cetera, to be able to move into this place and to invest and raise their family here. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Morrison. I live at the Harpeth. I support the Middle Eight. I lived in Fieldstone Farms for several years and sold my house to rent voluntarily. When I think about places to live, we all know that location is the main thing in real estate. But I want to talk about what I think is the most important and valuable resource that a person has, which is their time. And a huge struggle that I feel like I see is a lot of people are working here, they're going to church here, they're pouring into communities here. But they're forced to commute 30 minutes, an hour, sometimes more to get here. And so I think it's hugely flattering that they want to spend their most important resource here, their time, but they're forced to spend that outside of the community on a commute, time that they would otherwise invest in this community. Proximity is key to it, and having more diverse offerings in terms of housing that cater to different seasons of life, lifestyles. That would provide them the opportunity to live here. The people who are already building this area and making it great and making it what it is. Compared to when I lived in the Fieldstone Farms and now living at the Harpeth, I spend way more time going to nearby businesses, restaurants, pouring time here that I would otherwise have bypassed. It reminds me of Cheers. It's where everyone knows your name. And so I just think that this project provides the soil for real community to grow and thrive here in Franklin.
Thank you. Tammy Lennox.
She already spoke.
Oh, I didn't turn that one over. We're ready for the next 10, 41 to 50, please.
My name is Thomas Pitts. I live on 418 Eddy Lane. I'm a senior in college at Baylor University. I was born and raised in Franklin and have lived here until I went to college. I am for the Middle Eight because I know there are a lot of people my age who would love to move back to Franklin and want to be close to their families. However, there are not many options that I will be able to afford and not any that would be close to downtown. This would be a great opportunity for people my age to be able to come back after college and live in their hometown. I'm also for the Middle Eight because adjacent to the property, the factory is currently undergoing renovations, and I believe it will create a unique community and environment that everyone in Franklin will be able to enjoy. Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening. My name is Laura Pereno. I live at 106 Church Street in the Brownstones, and I'm here tonight on behalf of supporting the Middle Eight. First, when I saw the project, I remember saying to my husband, if I didn't live in downtown Franklin already, I would be first on the list to live in this very attractive building and development that is so close to the factory, which we are a part of quite often. But I moved here from Wilmington, Delaware 5 years ago. I was one of those who moved here in the past 5 years, the large influx. And I remember when I moved here hearing so many people say, oh my goodness, so many people are moving here, Franklin is going to change. And I thought, because that's me. But here I thought to myself afterwards, standing here now, it wasn't Franklin that has changed as all of the people have come in, right? It was me. Because I moved here from the Northeast, and when we go outside, we don't talk to each other. We keep to ourselves. We are a very quiet community, a very private community. And when I moved into downtown Franklin, which was so walkable, what happened was I started going down the streets and people would talk to me. I feel like by expanding the community, allowing other people in, we are going to continue the culture that is really what Franklin's all about. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Wong-Ken. I live at 3252 Astor Way in Franklin, and I'm here to speak to you because I'm in support of this project. So my family and I moved to Middle Tennessee probably about in 2007, and we wanted to live in Franklin but just could not. So we moved to Murfreesboro. We're just like, we'll just drive because, you know, that's what you do. And after our kids went to high school and went to college, we decided, you know, we're going to sell our house, we're going to move here, and we're going to rent because we were already doing life in Franklin. So it's the closest that we can get. This community was not always welcoming, I will say that. Change is very hard for people. And it's hard when you see people that maybe you don't know all your life come in and you think they're going to disrupt what you've always loved. And so that was really hard for me and my family, which is very diverse, to get comfortable here. But we decided there was something sweet about it, and we wanted to stay. And this development affords people the opportunity to stay. Give them a chance. Thank you.
I'm Ronald Crutcher, and I live at 1324 Adams Street here in Franklin. I'm here tonight asking you to vote for the approval of Middle 8. I've lived in Franklin since 1969. I've followed the typical route of living in 4 different houses in my 54 Franklin years. Franklin has become a destination vacation spot by promoting its history. The crowds on the sidewalks 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, testify to the success of this effort. A former director of the Franklin Heritage Foundation once stated that if we are going to sell Franklin history, we need to save our historic houses. With the Middle 8, that goal is met. Franklin needs to save all existing lower cost housing. The new housing proposed by Middle 8 is on vacant land. No existing living units will be torn down. I don't look at this development as changing the old Franklin of 1969 when I lived on Meadow Lawn Drive.
You go ahead and wrap up, Mr. Crutcher, please.
All right. Instead, I see growth similar to the Brownstones and Harpeth Franklin development. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Alderman. How you guys doing? I don't know if I can add to what's been said.
Give your name, please.
Excuse me?
Give your name.
I'm sorry. My name is Joseph Elwood, number 44. I don't think I can add really to anything other than to say that when I moved here in 1991, the clear signal to me was, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I feel like what they're doing at the Middle 8, I want to vote in favor of, because I think I never got the signal of it's okay for you to come in and work at Franklin and help us build Franklin and be a part of the community. But the clear signal I got was it's not okay if you're 20 miles out and you have to drive home 20 miles after you come here and help build our community. The signal I got was, man, we want you here. We want you living here. And that's why I think this proposal actually extends that from 1991 to 2023. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Kathy Jo Elwood. I live at... Okay, I come really close. I live at 778 Willow Springs Boulevard. I've lived in Franklin for just under 30 years, and I own and operate a business on Main Street. Without having to repeat what everybody else has said, just really quickly, I want to say that Franklin is known to be the home of artists from all over the country, and in some cases all over the world. That's what makes our town so different to the likes of Brentwood and Spring Hill, Belmead, and Green Hills. They come here to be creative, for kindness, for hospitality, and diversity. Change is happening, and we can try to stop it, and we can try to slow it down as much as we can, but it is inevitable. Truland and their team know this town unlike another developer who will come in and develop and advocate with lawyers for their property rights and will not care about our locals or try to preserve what the culture and character of Franklin is about. Like what Toby and Amanda said earlier, when they first moved here, Liberty Pike came in, and they didn't like it. But they realized in the end that it was good for Franklin. And so I hope, as you're considering the Middle 8, which I am for, that you will think, that you will hopefully know that this would be good for Franklin as well. Thanks.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tangi Coffee Lane, and I have been here my entire life, since 1977. And Mr. Barnhill, you look familiar. Mayor, of course, you look familiar, and Brandy, you look familiar. I just want to say that when you've been here your entire life, things change. I've watched my entire town change. And it has not all been for the best, but much of it has been. And I trust those that have been put in place to make sound decisions to do things that will further our city. I was not for Harpeth going to downtown. I thought it'd be too much. I was wrong, and I can come up here and say I was wrong. I've taken notes about some of the things that were said, and they want you to listen to all residents. I'm one of those residents. I've been here my entire life. And to see so many people come in here and say that they love it here and why they came, and then to say, stop, don't do this, don't do that, when I've had to watch so many people come in and change so much about where I live, I just think it's unfair. And just to say that I think it's a little insensitive to talk about enslavement camps and donating bungalows to the descendants of slaves when you have land here and no one has ever offered us anything. So don't just ask the Middle Eight to do it when all the people here have that same opportunity to do the same thing if you really care. Thank you.
Wow, okay. My name is Damien Wong Ken. I live at 352 Astor Way. I've lived here for the past 6 years in Franklin. My wife spoke earlier. We moved in 2007. I came down sight unseen to Franklin, Tennessee, at the direction of a mentor of mine, saying that's the place you need to go. I moved from Milton, Ontario, Canada, which is a historic town similar to Franklin. We saw a tremendous amount of growth there. It did not change the culture of the city. The culture is the people, not the buildings. The reason why we moved here is because of you guys. The people we agree with, the people we oppose, or that oppose me. I've been called several names. I own a business downtown Franklin. I work at a successful company. I've been called names unbearable. And still, I love it. But instead of being welcoming to people of diverse backgrounds, I feel like we're trying to push them away. Not even saying stop. We're saying go to Columbia. We're saying go to Spring Hill, go to Thompson Station, whatever it is. I want to stay here. I love Franklin. I love the people here, the people I don't know. I love that I could hold the door for somebody and they say thank you, and they have the sticker on their chest. That's fine. The diversity, the culture is what makes Franklin. That's it. I support the Middle Eight because that supports the community. It supports the culture of Franklin, Tennessee. Thanks.
My name's Lynn McAllister, 723 Fair Street. Once again, thank you all for your servant hearts. I'm going to tell you something you already know. There are 267,000 people right now living in Williamson County. According to the Nashville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, in 17 years, we're going to have 536,000 people in our county. Now, I'm grateful for all the organizations that have made us such a successful place to be. I was born here too, and I'm grateful that we have this kind of problem. That is a blessing. But what are we going to do with all these people? I mean, that's the question, right? So we already know with the county's plan, there's going to be one house on 5 acres. So therefore, they're going to come to the urban areas. If we continue to build single-family homes on quarter-acre lots, we're going to chew up all of the mature trees, the rolling hills, the beautiful greenery, all the things that we love, all the things that brought us here. The answer has to be to have key areas for higher density living in projects that are creatively and thoughtfully designed. The factory district is the right place, and this is the right project.
We're going 50 to 58 now.
Good evening.
And we're still smiling.
is Taraya Lane, and I'm born and raised here in Franklin, Tennessee. Taraya Lane. I'm born and raised here in Franklin, Tennessee, and my family can say the same for about 4 generations. And I actually sat in this room in 2018 as a member of Youth Leadership Franklin. If some of y'all recognize my face, I recognize you, Mr. Mayor. But I'm here because Youth Leadership Franklin is designed to help students create change in this community, positive change. And I believe the Middle Eight is positive change. That's why I'm here to support it. Because let me tell you why, actually. I picked Vanderbilt University. That's the university that I go to. I'm a senior there, and I picked it not because it's good and it'll be great on my resume, but because it was close to home. And when I graduate, I want to be able to come back to my hometown and live next door to my mama. But right now, that's not going to happen. It's not attainable housing, and there's no walkable housing in downtown Franklin. I want to live in my home. Think back about 15 years. Me, I'm about 5 years old, and I've always dreamed of living in my hometown. Are you going to deny that little girl that dream? That's all I'm going to ask.
I've got 50 to 58 now.
I'm 51. My name is Brooke Tanner, and I'm Mike Tanner's daughter. He is sick, so I brought my phone up because he has given me permission to speak on behalf of myself and the Tanner family. He even said I could FaceTime him. So if it comes down to it, he said probably a lot of y'all already have his cell phone and can get permission. But two things. Our family's for it. I can only speak for my family why. Everybody says Franklin's changing. Franklin's still Franklin. I've had a lot of hard conversations about this project on this side and that side. And Franklin, at the end of it, I said, this is where I stand. They said, this is where I stand. And we hugged. We were like, tell me about so-and-so. How's your baby? How's school? Other side of Franklin, I have 4 kids with special needs in high school. I'm grateful for Franklin. If Franklin hadn't stepped in to help me raise them, I don't know where they would be. But I want my special needs boys with autism to live in Franklin. I want them to walk from the factory to one day Tan, who's living in Middle 8. I want them to have the opportunity to be a part of the community that we have built. That's my hope and my dream, and that's why we support this. And you can call my dad.
Hi, Monica Neubauer. I live at 218 Fowler Circle, again, in Jason Potts District, not in downtown Franklin, but I am a 50-year resident native of Franklin, Tennessee. And I've been so glad to be here and hear all the comments. I ended up near the end, and it's been good for me. I appreciate the vision. I'm going to cut to just a couple things that I think it's too dense. I love what I've heard. I do think there's a lot of good things going on, but I think it's too dense. I think it's too tall. And I do agree with the environmental and parking concerns. I think there's some valid things there that may actually be problematic. I haven't read all the engineer reports. But for my personal opinion, I'm going to take a little bit higher view, and I'm actually upset that they're apartments. I am a 20-year real estate professional in the area, and I believe in individual home ownership. I travel up Carruthers Parkway every single day, and there are so many apartments there. And why are there no workforce apartments there? Why is this 20 units and 95 one-bedrooms like our sole workforce property in Franklin? I am so tired of all these apartments being the same. I would be more in favor of this project if they were condos and people could build individual wealth instead of more wealth for developers and apartment owners. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Thomas Bell, 177 Lancaster Drive. Words matter. The letter that was sent by Mr. Vogrin, and he covered the height. I'm just hoping that it's less than 52 feet, 9 inches, Mr. Ratunovich. Hope it's lower. Please have that on the record. In addition, that the 4 stories that they're talking about has the setback, because they're saying 4 stories. Once again, is it 3 and 1 setback? Just want to make sure that's kind of what they're talking about, just so it matters so everyone can make a good decision here. I don't envy being in your position. It's an election year. Your decisions are going to matter. And it's probably 50-50. So half of us are going to hate you, half of us are going to love you. But let's all be civil and respect each other regardless of what goes on. Thank you.
Paul Poole. I'm the administrator of a church on Old Liberty, 130 Old Liberty Pike. I'm also a 35-year Franklin resident as well. The McKeons are celebrities, and good ones at that. Everything I've read or heard about them is positive, and God bless you for that. But with that, celebrityship becomes a lot of power and influence, just naturally in this country. But I think this project is bad for Franklin. for the detriment it could have to the historical value of Franklin, the environmental. And the one thing that I'm probably most concerned about is the potential water problems that the residents of Old Liberty Pike and Daniels and Lancaster and the surrounding area will have. So I hope, well, I want the Board of, our government, our Board of Aldermen need to level the playing field, especially for the residents who live in that area and who are overwhelmingly against this project. Thank you.
You ready?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I'm Paul Leibovitz. I live at 102 Winslow Road, which is adjacent, adjacent to the project. The parking study, I think, is extremely flawed, and I do not want you to approve their modification of standard. In 1 minute, all I can tell you is that for their one-bedroom units, they're saying the ratio is 1.08. What that means is after 13 spaces, there's one for a visitor. Now, what are these 13 one-bedroom places? You don't think people are going to have visitors, boyfriends, girlfriends, or the guys all play games at night? The ratios are all off. Do not approve the modification of standard for parking.
Good evening. My name is John Rosello. I live at 2405 Adair Court. We moved here, my mother and I, recently, and we chose Franklin for the same reasons a lot of people did. We love the historical aspect. We deliberately chose an area that was an older development because we didn't want to be a part of the destruction of the historical area of Franklin. We don't live in the downtown area, so we had to choose a place that was a few miles away. And that was okay for me to commute, to enjoy the community without being a part of the destruction. Like a couple of the other speakers, I came from California. I lived in an area that was ranch land, orange grove, strawberry fields. Nothing like that exists anymore. It's completely gone. 7 lanes northbound, 7 lanes southbound on the freeway, and you cannot go anywhere. We didn't drive anywhere anymore because of the destruction. One other thing, when I was younger, there was a time where you worked and you achieved your goals slowly over time, that it wasn't something given to you. I started out by buying a small condominium in an area that was not close to the community I wanted to be in, and eventually sold that and bought another small house and moved into a little nicer area until I got to a point
You'll wrap
where
up,
we
please.
could move. Things should not be given away, and a lot of people think this is a giveaway to family and friends. There's always going to be another developer and always a new rezoning. Let's not let that happen.
Hello, my name's Mike Reinfeldt. I live at 119 Jameson Station. I'm the president of the HOA of the Jameson Station Townhomes, and I spoke in March, April, May, June, July. And I think I had the same issues, so I'll be quick. I mean, my issues are it was too high, too dense, too many traffic issues, too many water and plumbing and flooding issues, not enough parking for the occupants, and now we have potential historic issues. Everything's the same except one thing. It's a little shorter. We still have all those same issues. We haven't fixed any of those other issues. Moving right along, I do want to say, I'm going to share this with you as a little handout. This is the retaining pond behind Jameson Station after a 1-inch rain, and you can see how fragile the whole thing is, how much the water just pours in across the street. So let me share that.
You'll just share that with the recorder, please.
And I do have one last question. The Harpeth Hotel, when you use it as a comparison, I think the Harpeth has 119, 120 hotel rooms. Just by definition, isn't that going to be a denser development? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brian Wright, 312 Cheltenham Avenue. Many of you may recognize me. I worked on your zoning ordinance as your consultant and your historic district guidelines, but I also run a national planning consultancy, so we work all over the country. I had a longer list of things to talk about, but so many people have come up and spoken that I've been scratching off my list, so I'll make it short and maybe stay under my minute for the first time ever. So we were working on the downtown plan and zoning ordinance for Portsmouth, New Hampshire, founded in 1653, fantastically beautiful and historic. And we have our 16 blocks or so of downtown. They have 80 acres of some of the most beautiful historic district you've ever seen. The residents there were really concerned about all the tourists. How do we get these tourists out of here? And I pointed out to them that without the tourists, their downtown doesn't thrive, the one they love to walk to because they live down there. I heard a statistic recently, that so much traffic has been removed from downtown Franklin when Matt Catcher opened, and you think, yay, good, traffic's out of downtown Franklin. However, that's also shoppers that are out of it. If you have a place that's being built here, people are going to live more densely in the downtown area with this wonderful new sidewalk. They can walk and patronize and make up for some of that loss. So just a technical idea there.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? If I didn't miss anybody, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed, and we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Alderman Baggett.
I'd like to motion to approve the resolution and amend the motion of approval by adding a condition that the number of stories on the east residential building, Building 2, shall be reduced to 3 stories and a 4th recess, that's 4 stories total, fronting Liberty Pike, and 4 stories with a 5th recess, that's 5 stories total, adjacent to Foster Lane, which, sir, is the interior road of the development, and that if approved by BOMA, the approval with conditions will be sent to Planning Commission for review and concurrence, and that this modification should not delay the review scheduled for the Historic Zoning Commission final COA review.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second. Any additional comments you want to make, Alderman Baggett,
Sure. on
your motion?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to thank the residents who've spent a lot of time with. I think especially Alderman Brown and I, who our wards split the district, split the Franklin Road. It's been really, really helpful. And I think you all, those of that we've had individual dialogue, will see that. And we've been doing it for months, almost a year. There are things that were brought up, specifically Old Liberty Pike. And you will hear, I think, in our capital investment prioritization, Old Liberty Pike is going to be on the radar when it wasn't, because of this development or because of this process and us engaging. So that's been great. First of all, this plan as submitted, as motioned, actually, there would be no issues with any of the historic zoning guidelines, if I'm not mistaken. The height was the issue at historic zoning. And the 30 inches came into play, the 52, I mean, that all got confusing, right? But what we've seen is the process work. Okay, most people that I spoke with, of course, there's lots of issues, okay? And I'm under zero assumption that this is going to fix it for everyone. But a majority of people I talked to, the height and the scale of that one building was the biggest issue. The second thing is the history, and I appreciate the lady who brought up the history. Our preeminent Civil War historian has done extensive reviews on this property, and I'm involved with battlefield work and support the Fuller story, telling our Fuller story. And I can speak for I think I can speak for the Truland, and this absolutely would be a huge factor in the development of this property. If you know them, if you know of their reputation, you know the work they've done, they wouldn't omit this fact from this project. It's just very clear. You got to know them. And you got to know their history here and what they've done and invest in this community over the last 30 years to know that this idea that they're disregarding African-American history is just kind of just off the wall. Honestly, they're not. And if I trusted anybody, it would be them because of their history here. And then the preeminent Civil War historian in our town. Second, the Envision Franklin Amendment, we would have had to even the parking remain is the only issue. That's the only thing that we would have had to have had that done, because the height is now below. It's lower than Jameson Station. All that to say, this is about the people, and I hear never we never have people lined up in favor of developments. Just be real honest with you. We never have people that come and speak in favor of developments. And those of you who've just moved here, or in the last few years, the people who were speaking were not in favor of this. Some of them is not your normal pro-development people. So we have a very diverse group of opinions on this, and I hope that the residents respect that, and this decision we're making, I will yield my time. But I think that's important for people to know, that there's a very diverse view on this, and then I think we've done a lot of work to get this to what I think is appropriate. All the buildings will be 3 stories, except the number 2, which will have the 4th recessed.
We need to get a motion, if we're through discussing your motion, to approve the modification of standard parking.
I have one more comment.
Go ahead, Alderman Berger.
Just a quick comment. In regards to the, and I think Patrick spoke to this a little bit, I've seen the letters that Truland has received from the state and at the federal level of the historic preservation organizations, that this is intact and their designation for that property and for the Truett House will not be touched, will not go away. Heard someone say here tonight that it would. That is not correct. Because I was worried about that, being a preservationist myself. I wanted to check on that immediately. So I just wanted to say that. And I think there are so many different things about stormwater. I choose to listen to the professionals, the certified, the outstanding engineers who've gone to school, have learned that, who are outstanding in their field, and also to trust not only their expertise, but the state of Tennessee in the last so many years have become very, very strict in stormwater. So I see a lot of improvement to help here in this area. We have Greenfield right now, which water runoff, and when you do building, you've got to maintain and contain that water and get it out of the system and not impede. And that is not going to happen. I spent time with these engineers. I make it a point to, I'm a person who's driven by facts, and we're all entitled to our opinions. We've heard many opinions here tonight. But a lot of times we form our opinions on invalid information that is not quite correct or can be misleading. And so I've taken great pains over the last so many months. And I know that the people way back in October and November were informed, were talked with and invited in, I think, even to the Truett House for a neighborhood meeting of 30 or 40 people in their home to tell them about the project back in January. So it wasn't, someone said here tonight, we only found out about this in April. Something sneaky, something underhanded. And I really don't like to hear that because I know better. This has all been very above board. They have walked through the city process. Staff has been amazing in their work. Thank you. You have gone above and beyond everything you've needed to do because it was a very important piece of property. It's very close to the core of downtown. And Alan tonight came and spoke for the factory. Thank you, because it is very important to know that is activating that factory is extremely important to this town. And so I've heard some misinformation here tonight. I've heard some worries, and I think a lot of fears and different things that really will never materialize. Parking can be iffy, but we think, and my generation is different than his generation. We have other new generations and people that came to speak tonight. They function differently, and we work a lot from home, and there's ways to get around. There's a lot of things to do, and sometimes we go overboard sometimes in our renderings of what we need in parking. We're looking at that to reduce that now even for the needs. And I have a lot of apartments in my ward. And honestly, if you've listened to this board, I am not a person that's much in favor of any more apartments. But somebody said something about design tonight. It's not about design. Oh, yes, it is about design. Our historic preservationists in our planning department here, and the Heritage Foundation have beat it into our heads for years. It's all about design, it's all about design, it's all about a sense of place. Thank you, Truland, for creating a sense of place. Thank you for, I got it right this time, Joe Atunovich, for your amazing design, because Franklin deserves that. And this has not been an easy, flippant decision on my part. But when I saw this design, I saw that layout, and I saw where it was placed in relationship from downtown. And people downtown have told me for years, I've been on this board 19 years, they have said, we need more residents downtown, we need more residents downtown, we need more residents downtown. Well, it's not quite the core, but it's in the downtown area. And we're going to be able to have that. But I'm a fact-driven person, and I've taken time to look at this, and I know these aldermen on this board, however we vote tonight, have really put a lot of time and effort in there. And, Mr. Mayor, if you'll just allow me one more comment, I want to thank Alderman Baggett and Alderman Brown. You've been on this board just over a year and a half. You're outstanding. And I'm so privileged to be here with you because you jump in and you do the work, you do your homework, and you care deeply about this community. You care deeply. And as I said, I'm a fact-driven person, and I want us to look at facts, and I want us to look at what's really good for Franklin in the future. And I thank you. I thank you all for your comments tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I want to say something about stormwater.
Go ahead, Alderman Peterson.
First of all, some of the things that I read say that the stormwater drainage is going to be put back on to Foster Avenue there, that's the street in this, and that's going to be, impervious surface there. So I'd just kind of like to hear from the developed people how that's supposed to work.
Jay Fuller. Thank you all for
Can you pull your mic down?
all your input on this so far. But right now, the site flows down to the south towards Old Liberty Pike. We are going to have a stormwater management system that collects all the roads, that collects all the rooftops. We've got a lot of the driveways impervious pavement. We send it to a bioretention pond that provides detention and water quality.
And where is that?
And that's in the furthest south portion of the site. The outfall of that then goes in a pipe system back under Foster and will go over to Daniels Drive. So it is going to prevent a lot of the water that's currently flowing onto those properties to the south that could be inundating them. And it's going to relieve some of that water and put it into a public pipe network. And right now, with all the improvements that are proposed, the peak flow runoffs from the site will vary from a 14% reduction up to a 61% reduction. And so with the requirements of the city, with the infiltration of the smaller storms, the 2-year storm runoff will be reduced by 61%. So that'll be a great improvement to the creek that's currently inundated.
Now let me ask you, so where is that water going then?
A lot of it gets infiltrated, and a lot of it is held back in these ponds until it gets slowly released.
And so where are the ponds?
In the far south of the site.
I saw some places that said that, but it looked like that they were just, where it's just going into the floodplain and things like that.
It's, I'm not sure if there's a site plan that's available, but
It's like C10 or something like that?
right there that's labeled 10.
Is that thing right there?
It's a.
I thought that's the dog park.
We actually went over
No,
that.
it's a stormwater management area.
Well,
Go ahead, Will your questions,
No,
please,
I was
Alderman
just going to say,
Alderman Peterson?
well, that's the reason I'm asking, because, you know, the people who do live down from that, you know, have had a great deal of water already coming through right now. And the other thing, I think I read somewhere, and I don't have my page on that, but it was saying that it would just go on to downstream. And so if you look at downstream, then there's a lot of floodplain downstream. I mean, even going all the way over to Lancaster Drive. And so is it just going to be put into that, I mean, the river's not that far away.
Ultimately, we will have to meet all the regulations that are not going to allow us to increase runoff from the project. And we are going to be going above and beyond, make sure that's the case, or else.
Well, I think that's, of course, going to be required, but still, it doesn't look like something that's going to be very easily done.
We've spent a lot of time studying it. We understand it's a not an easy task.
Are you finished, Alderman Peterson? You have another question?
I'm just, well, the other thing is going to be about the parking. So, and I think
We're getting ready to go to the
talk about
parking
that.
now, if you could. We do have one modification of standard. We'll need to have a motion to, on the modification of standard for parking. And after that, then we would consider the motion as a whole, as originally proposed by Alderman Baggett, which would include the parking. So you're
I will
recognized.
make a motion to approve modification of standard number 1, which is parking.
I'll second it.
And motion second. Now, discussion on the,
Yes.
would you like to address it, Alderman Blanton?
No, sir.
Alderman Peterson, you
Yes.
want to comment about
Well,
it?
yes, because, and as I say, we've talked about so many different things tonight. I'm looking at my numbers here. They were technically, I think they were supposed to have 620 parking spaces required, and they're asking to put it down to 486 or something like that. So that's like, 20% less parking places than are required by our current ordinances.
Do you want an explanation from the development team
Well,
to
I
explain how they
understand
reached that?
I understand that they looked around some places here and saw that there were other apartments that had open parking places, and they did go back to talk about the parking generation manual, and it just seems to me that that is not at all fitting with what our
I
current
think Amy wanted to speak to it.
regulations are.
I think Amy wanted to speak to it.
We have somebody from the development team that could address the parking requirements and how you reached the level of parking that you did.
Again. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Give your
and
name, please.
can you, Beth Ostrowski, I'm with KCI Technologies. I think that you described it very well, the process that we used. We looked at the national standard, which gave us the baseline for the information that we've provided to you, and then we validated by collecting data at 7 different multifamily developments around the city of Franklin, and that information validated the individual uses that, or spaces per unit that you described. So I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Well, it says for one-bedroom units and for studio units, 0.87 spaces. Do you think that there are going to be people living there that do not have a vehicle to park?
Yes, potentially, and that's what the data shows.
Around here, I don't know about that.
I'd make a comment about the parking. I know back in June, Emily even said herself that we are looking to change our standards as a city because we realize that it's probably too stringent. kind of overcompensated, and we have not looked at that since 2013. So I believe the crux of this development is based on walkability. And I think that as old as I am now, I won't give up my car till my kids die, pull my keys out of my hands. But there is a younger demographic that prefers alternate ways of transportation. And, and I hear the hums and the what have you.
Especially
but-
young people.
Mayor, I've got a question. How many, and this may go to, how many, and this is going to tie back at the Harpeth, because we talked about density. How many apartment units are at the Harpeth? Do you know?
Harpeth?
I'm sorry.
the
I know, I just put you up, but we
Within
just
the-
talked about the density. Do you
I
know?
think we're talking about the parking. and
I know,
not about the
Mayor,
Harpeth.
it's going
Can
to tie
you,
back. It's
can
going,
you link it to
if you'll
parking?
give me some grace, it's going to tie very clearly.
Perfect.
In the two multifamily buildings, 254 dwelling units.
254 dwelling units. We just recently, back in, I don't know, earlier this year, did a parking study downtown.
Yep.
If everyone recalls, a downtown parking study. This is real data. They have 367 hotel, or Harpeth Hotel. The garage has 367 units. Thursday midday, it was 4% occupied.
But it's-
Friday
it
midday.
costs money to park there.
Friday, but the residents still live there. The residents live for free, park for free. Residents park for free, okay? Residents park for free. 4% occupied on Thursday, 3% occupied on Friday, midday. So this study that the applicant group did it in the evening time. So we have their study from the evening time. We have this study, just something similar. I think it's actually a similar correlation, at least on the parking. What I'm saying is that that's way too many parking spaces, even for the Harpeth Hotel. That was under the old standard. So there should be some, look, I want more, I want enough parking. What I know is our staff would not recommend. If you are around this chamber long enough, you will know that staff does not, in the most gracious way, they do not give on these kinds of things that are written in our ordinance without third-party validation, and they run it through the ringer. I'm not worried about the parking because I have seen some data. I wouldn't vote on a parking reduction if I didn't have third-party sources, quite frankly, other than the applicant, that validated the formula that the staff has approved of.
Can
Are
I
we
say
ready
one
to
thing
vote?
on
Yeah.
that?
Mr.
On the parking generation manual, it talks about the 85th percentile. In other words, that means 15% of the time it is more than what they're saying.
Mr. Mayor, I call the question.
Question's been called. Anybody opposed to voting?
Thank you.
Let's call the roll, and what we're voting on is the motion to approve the one modification of standard for parking. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 6-2. We'll now go to the entire motion as amended with the modification of standard. Is there any further discussion on that, or are you ready to vote? Alderman Brown.
I won't repeat a whole lot, but I will say this, and I want to make sure I hit this Creekside comment that was made, because that was way, way off. My wife calls Franklin her snow globe. I am under strict orders to protect this community. A large part of why I ran was to make sure that not only do we watch growth, and we have smart growth, many of you know, I've been very much opposed to several developments that have come through here and championed some efforts against some developments that have come through here. The bar's got to be high, I think, to do something great in Franklin. And so, but preserving and protecting Franklin isn't just about being anti-growth or stopping all growth. It's about finding opportunities to preserve open space. It's about creating economic vitality. It's about saving things like the factory and making sure that there's vitality there. It's about making sure that our shops and our restaurants downtown have people that are walking to it and coming to it, and that we're fueling this beautiful place we have. There are plenty of great historic towns that don't survive because they don't build the critical mass in order to be able to put people in those stores, in those businesses. The factory district, This plan, this design is beautiful. I think it's going to fit so perfectly well within this historic corridor. I think it's going to fit beautifully within this factory district. It's going to add some vitality. This has not been, I've listened to every conversation. I've tried to address key issues. I've tried to find answers to key problems. But at the end of the day, there's some leadership and vision that has to happen here tonight in order to have something like this come forward. Harpeth Hotel, Harlingsdale Park, streetscape, all these things nobody wanted. And thank God we had some leaders that were willing to take a little bit on the chin, have some vision, and bring it to bear. And I think something like the factory district is that. I will tell you, and I'm going to go back to this Creekside thing. I don't know where those comments came from, but I will tell you that for me, it's about balance. We took a vision trip a couple years ago to a neighborhood called Serenbe, and I would encourage anyone who's never looked at it to look at it. What was awesome about Serenbe was they found a way to preserve open space by creating density where density belongs. It's actually preservation through density. And what I loved about that concept was we live in a community, we don't have mechanisms like transfer development rights. We don't have the ability to just buy up property. We've got a whole lot of other things that we're trying to do in this community. And so we just can't go buying up a ton of property. So the idea is, how do you create balance? On that Franklin corridor, how do we create, saving Creekside, leaving that open space to me is paramount. You will hear me in the next few months push really hard on this city to make that purchase and save Creekside and save that gateway into our community. But by saving those hundreds of acres there, then as you come down Franklin Road, there's this wonderful factory district that deserves some walkable density. It's about balance in the whole. You can't look at this development, this one build-out in a vacuum. It plays within the context of the entire whole. And I believe when it's all said and done, that downtown, the factory district, Creekside, that open space, that entire corridor is going to be an area that we are going to be so proud of and so excited about, and we're all going to enjoy. We need the walkability. We need the density. It's the right place for it. It's been built for it to be there. I think it's going to be beautiful, and I'm excited about what it's going to be. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness that's gone into it and the way we've addressed the questions and the concerns. We're not going to solve all the problems, for sure, but I think it's going to end up being a fantastic development.
Ready to vote?
Mr. Mayor? Before we move to vote, Alderman Berger, I appreciate your comments regarding preservation as we move forward. I know that we, as a board, did receive an email this afternoon at 4:27, which is very difficult to read, by the way, as we're getting started. And as we move forward, it was a question about the National Historical Registration regarding the acreage and the house. And I want to make sure if anybody from Truland or from the other group can just make sure that we speak to that, or if it has to go through any type of a review process, because that has been one of our platforms, is preservation here in Franklin. So I want to make sure that if that is part of process, or if it's already been done, if you could help us to address that. But if we need to look at that further down the road so it stays on the National Historical Registry, I would appreciate that.
I think that's a really great question, because when I heard that claim too, I got a little concerned. So I think one of the ways to understand this is, why is the house on the National Registry? We've actually been looking at that for years. You want to talk to that?
The house was first listed in 1988.
Can't hear you.
The house was first listed in 1988, and within the application, the land and the site and the building were listed. The building was listed as contributing. There were 5.2 acres that were listed as non-contributing. So we spoke to the State Historic Preservation Office just to make sure that we understood, and they indicated that the subdivision of the land and the land itself had no bearing on the National Register of Historic Places listing.
And we have an email from her right here. Her name is Rebecca Schmidt, Tennessee State Government Coordinator of National Register of Historic Places. I asked her if I should send the fact that the property had been subdivided to her. And she said, "Hi, Amanda, we are happy to add any documentation to our files, but you do not need to record the subdivision with us since that by itself does not have any effect on the property's significant characteristics." Does that answer that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for addressing that. That was a big checkbox for me right there. I'll be brief just because there's been a lot of statements that have been shared tonight, and some of you may have even noticed that I've been taking notes. I've got 8 pages of notes right here. Patrick's, he's thinking I'm writing a book over here. I just want to take a second and thank everyone for coming out. Someone mentioned earlier today, and I believe it's this gentleman right here, talked about being civil to each other and treating each other accordingly, no matter where this goes, and that's Franklin. And I continue to hear this golden thread woven through all of the conversations, agreeing and disagreeing, and yet we're still Franklin. I know that's going to be the same thing tomorrow morning when we wake up. So I do think that this is, and I have met, with parties across the board, but I do think this is right place, right time for all the reasons Alderman Brown shared, as well as Alderman Baggett and others. And I'm saying that because I'm the alderman for Ward 3. You want to know where the apartments are? After they leave Ward 1, they're coming to mine. I'm being so cognizant of this, but this is the passion project that's here. It is the right place, right time, adjacent to the factory. There's so many positives for this. But I can assure you, as we talk about workforce housing, attainable housing, affordable housing, we talk about the upcoming next few months, you're going to see me up here, and you're going to hear some new areas of conversation that are going to be addressing that. And it's going to cause us to have to sit here and have serious conversation about where we're putting our mouth, our money, and our actions. So with that, sir, I'll yield my time.
Thank you.
Ready to vote? Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Alderman Blatton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Oh,
No.
We're now-
No.
6
I'm
to
sorry,
2.
6 to 2. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about saying, my next comment was we're going to take a 5-minute bathroom break.
And that was going to be unanimous.
That would be unanimous.
Intermission. Intermission. That was so well done.
That was well said.
Get all this stuff out of the way.
What are you, item number 38, Tony?
Number 6, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's number 6. Okay, we're going to call this meeting back to order, and we're going to move on to item number 5, which is City of Franklin Contract 2023-0095 with 228 Franklin LLC for Parkland Impact Fee and Construction Agreement for the Middle Eight. Is there a motion? Thank you. Is there a second by Alderman Potts? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
And
Alderman
Alderman Blanton has not returned, but it still passes unanimously there. Item 6, this is a public hearing, consideration resolution 2023-44, resolution to recommend changes to the Williamson County Growth Plan to the Williamson County Coordinating Committee. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Williamson County's existing growth plan was adopted in April of 2001. It established the urban growth boundaries in each 6 of the municipalities in Williamson County, as well as 4 planned growth areas. Boundaries have not been altered since that time. Early in 2021, the city of Franklin began engaging in this process with the other cities in Williamson County and began working collaboratively on the update. The official process started on June the 13th with the convening of the Williamson County Coordinating Committee. And after tonight, the next step in the process will be a meeting of the Coordinating Committee on August 29th at the Williamson County Enrichment Center at 9 a.m. The Planning Commission held the city's first required public hearing on July the 27th, and tonight marks the second required public hearing. During the first public hearing held 2 weeks ago, there were several residents who live in county subdivisions along West Harpeth Road, which is on the Columbia Pike corridor. And they came and voiced their concerns about the A1 Home Builders property. Reference map and some background information have been included in Civic Clerk, as well as an email that was sent to you all by Eric Stuckey on July the 19th that provided some context to those concerns. The A1 Home Builders parcels total about 150 acres, and they did receive a sewer availability denial by this board at the March 28th meeting due to the city's inability to serve with municipal services. Thompson Station is proposing to include the A1 parcels totaling 150 acres into their UGB, and these parcels do border their town limits, including a parcel owned by A1 that is already in their town limits. The nearby residents would like to see the property be developed in the county and not be annexed into Thompson Station. After the public hearing was held, the FMPC recommended the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approve Resolution 2023-44 by a vote of 9-0. The staff and the FMPC recommend approval of Resolution 2023-44. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And this is a public hearing. We have 4 speakers, Janet Curtis, Kathy Weber, Archer Thorpe, and Tony Sharp. If they'd come on up. If you can keep your comments to about a minute and a half, that would be great.
I will try. Good evening. Hi, good evening. My name is Janet Curtis. I live at 3665 North Chapel Road. That's in the Mays Creek Basin area. And after just sitting through 2.5 hours of hearing now, you want to preserve downtown Franklin and that there's a place for density and so on, I hope you'll take into consideration the comments that I'm making considering the UGB area. Where I live, most of the houses consist of at least 1.5 acres or more. and we would like to keep it that way. I'm requesting that the growth taking place in this area be consistent with the current landscape. When property in this area gets annexed into the city of Franklin for development, we would like to see a transitional form of development. The city needs to keep in mind that this area, although in the UGB, is still in the unincorporated area of Williamson County, and that the open space concept should be followed. Those of us who currently reside in this area do so because we enjoy the natural beauty of the open landscape without the sea of rooftops. The particular area enjoys a park, baseball fields, soccer fields, and an elementary school. It is a two-lane country road that is enjoyed by many bike riders, so an increase in additional traffic would take away the quiet and tranquil atmosphere we now enjoy. Did you know that according to Williamson County Emergency Management, there were 92 traffic accidents on Highway 96 at a 6-mile stretch between Cox Road and Arno in 22? 13 accidents in a month and a half from January 1 to February 14th of 23, and 12 additional accidents that the Sheriff's Department attended, for a total of 116 accidents in 14 months. Now that Highway 96 is being expanded to 4 lanes, traffic will be near impossible. Therefore, I request that you give a lot of thought and consideration to these facts and the current residents when voting on annexing and to build out the properties in the UGB. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor and Alderman. I'm Kathy Weber, I live in unincorporated county in the urban growth boundary of the city. And I want to thank you for all the hard work that all you municipalities have been doing since our mayor asked us to do this. The 2040 plan was done to help preserve our county and the beauty and the character of our county. And everyone's ordinances and land use plans are saying, let's preserve it. So my request is, number one, Andrew's been great. Everybody that's been actively involved with wanting to know the progress, he has updated us all the time, and I really appreciate it. I really do. My request is similar to what Janet was saying, that the boundaries in the UGB, okay, if you could come up with, like you did for the Franklin District, for the Arts District, come up with a zoning for this urban growth boundary area to where you have a gradual decrease of density. You're saying the density should be more in this city, but let's have a zoning that in that UGB says maybe it stays like the county has it right now as the MG1. I mean, that would give a nice, beautiful transition into the county and help us to preserve it. Because the 2040 plan, 1 home to 5 acres in the unincorporated county, was to reduce the cost of schools and also for the roads. And we did a great deal of money savings by doing that. So thanks again, and I hope you'll take that under consideration.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Board of Aldermen. My name is Tony Sharp. I live on the West Harpeth and Columbia Avenue. Now, I was told I was wearing the wrong shirt here today, so I hope it doesn't come down to Patrick voting. But my wife's going to ask me what I want for my birthday today, and today's my birthday. Thank you. And all I've told her is all I want was to stop Thompson Station to stay out of our business and to stay out of our residence. So on this map you see here, I live right there at West Harpeth, Columbia. You all travel this road, you know, yeah, thank you, Patrick, this is my neighbor. You know how busy this road can be. It's extremely dangerous. Matter of fact, my neighbor sends his daughter to my house to be picked up or dropped off at the bus because how busy it is. When you look at the map, you know, in the email is mentioned that this was a cohesive development, but when you look at the map, it really isn't. This is a dogleg. What we're fighting for is to keep that land, which I guess was owned by the Alexanders. We want to keep it with the fabric of what our neighborhood already is, which is, you know, the one home per 5 acres, or, you know, we don't want 300 homes, 400 homes back in this area to create more traffic, more noise. Then there's other issues that come up, could be changing of school zones, which my daughter, she wants to go to Legacy. That could be changed if I'm put into Thompson Station. So holding A1 builders to the standard that we have currently is what we are asking for you from. Thank you for your time.
Almost decided not to speak and decided to go ahead and speak. I'm Archer Thorpe. I live at 1805 Bunker Drive in the Keystone subdivision. My property comes up right against this big parcel of 150 acres. In 1990, I moved to Franklin. 2002, I built a home in Keystone and moved there because of the beauty, the rural feel that that community has. I join with this brother in saying that I would not like to see Thompson Station have the possession of this property. My prayer would be that you would do whatever actions you deem to be appropriate so that this would stay in the city of Franklin. I enjoy living in Franklin. I marvel at the efficiency of leadership here in Franklin, and I'd like to see that continue in the future. Thank you so much.
Okay, does anybody else wants to speak on this issue? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, what about this area? Because I have heard from some other people in Keystone, and they say they don't want to be put into Thompson Station UGB, so is it?
I would ask Mr. Stuckey if he would comment on how we can or cannot address that particular area, either that or
Do an amendment.
Emily, whichever one.
I can start, but folks can chime in as well, Andrew and Emily.
Can we do it by an amendment?
We followed guidance from the board over the last 2 years about properties, and this was specifically a property that we are not able to serve in the 20-year horizon that we're asked to use as a planning guide. And it is also property that the property owner requested to be removed from the Franklin UGB. So when we went through that, that's something we looked at, and one of the things we look at also from the staff standpoint is, does that removal create any hardship for other folks that can be served? These are on the very border of our UGB, and so the board in the review and the direction given to this point has been to grant those requests because they weren't areas that we could serve readily, and they also didn't create a hardship for other property owners that were either already in or wanted to stay in the UGB. This comes down to the decisions that others make. Part of this properties and it would go to the county UGB. Another part would go, at least as proposed, to Thompson Station. So that could be part of the process. There's more public input to gather as the whole as well in terms of how, whether that lands in Thompson Station or stays in the county, could be part of a broader discussion. What we are honoring is a general approach that you have guided us on, which is, can we serve it, and is it requested by the property owner? Does it create any other hardships for the build-out of the rest of the UGB? But Andrew has far more detailed knowledge than I do, but that's what I've seen from my perspective.
The coordinating committee is probably the appropriate body to address that issue because they have representatives from Thompson Station, the county. We have representatives on that as well. So the Planning Commission saw that it was more of a county and Thompson Station issue rather than a City of Franklin issue.
Well, and the thing is that, it won't be served by either by any kind of water, sewer and everything. But if you have big lots, then you can have septic tanks. And I mean, the story around Franklin used to be, it's not when the if the septic tank is going to fail, it's when it is. However, I know some places in the county that have had septic tanks for decades, and they have not failed. Now they're not north of Franklin. North of Franklin, there's stone, underground and everything, and so north of Franklin, you're going to have the sewer because the septic tanks are going to fail there. But south, there are a lot of places that have, have things that septic tanks would work on.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, elaborate a little bit more on what you just got through saying. Because when I sit up here and listen to what I'm listening to, the ones that have spoken are asking the city, basically, to hold those property owners, we'll use the term hostage, because we can't serve them, and we're not gonna provide anything for them. But yet, they want us to keep that property particularly in the urban growth boundary, which means that, whoever owns that property, he just owns 150 acres with practically nothing he can do with it, and certainly not developing it to whatever standards they are. I guess he couldn't ask, and he can't even develop to county standards. If it's in the urban growth boundary. So I'm not sure why. I understand. I got a property, I got a lot that backs up to it, and I built my house in 2002, and suddenly I don't look out in the back and I don't want to see another house out there. I want to see the deer, the antelope, and the buffalo, and whatever else is roaming. Well, that's not practical, and that's just not going to be what happens. Okay, and the top station's got it, and then they're over on the other side over there on Carter Street Pike, and they're over there with the urban growth boundaries there. So I don't know where they're going, but, well, I don't think they know where they're going either.
That's right, that's what I just
But
said.
the thing about Thompson Station is, they don't have to furnish sewer. They will let you do an on-site sanitary sewer system to give you the density that you need off of something other. And that's the fallacy of Thompson Station doing whatever they're doing. Plus, certainly, the property owner and the ones that are around, you're not going to annex unless there's a request to do so. So, tell me again, the group that's studying this, what are they saying and recommending again?
So just to back up a little bit, the A1 properties came in with a sewer availability denial request.
Right, from
For,
us.
yes, for their 150 acres. The board granted that, so the county's, the parcel is zoned MGA 1 unit per acre in the county, so they could go and work with the county and try and create a development that fits in that MGA 1. And as part of their sewer denial request, evidently Rogers Anderson was noted in that request saying that they would authorize them to get on Thompson Station sewer. So this particular parcel could be served by Thompson Station on their sewer.
It said that in the request we approved?
It was in the staff report. So the question remains, would A1 develop in the county, or would they try and get annexed into Thompson Station and develop under Thompson Station standards?
Well, it's probably annex and get on development and get the
See,
density.
I remember it different. I remember us discussing this and them saying we want we want to do just like they did across the street. Deny so we can develop in the county, one house per 5 acres. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
I remember doing that, and we had that conversation because the residents came and talked about it too. And that went into that consideration, quite frankly, I think, of a lot of us, because we just did it across the street.
Yeah.
I mean, across Columbia Avenue, and they held to it. Now, my thing, so we're going street by street here, and apparently where it's purple, we are planning on serving, and then we arbitrarily draw a line, not arbitrarily, a lot of thought and planning went into it. That is not the right word, I apologize. A lot of thought and planning went into it, but I think I feel a little bit like that needs to be reconsidered. Because now what we denied that sewer availability, if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it was denied, and I'm pulling up that availability right now.
And I'll have to go back and watch the meeting. But I also see this actually, becoming and then what about here on the other side of the railroad track? Does that gravity flow differently than on the east side of the railroad track? Because it's right next to each other.
Alderman Baggett, if I may address that, in their sewer availability request, they did list in the item report, 150 units requested, which is the 1 unit per acre.
Yeah, one unit per acre.
Beyond that, I don't know exactly what their plans are.
Yeah. And that's not what we're discussing here, is not their plans, right? We're discussing, should this be or not be in the urban growth boundary?
And there are, just to answer your question, there are multiple drainage basins in this very southern tip of the UGB. So it is possible that the gravity flow is different right in this particular railroad area versus, for instance, farther east along Goose Creek.
There's some topography.
So there's definitely some hillside, some topography. So the drainage basins are different.
Can somebody show me on the map where Keystone is? Go ahead.
So with that,
It's there.
Right there.
So
Vintage is not.
Just in the southern portion.
so I'm trying to understand something about the drainage basin that you said. So how does that play into the drainage basin comments you made? How does that play into whether it stays in our urban growth boundary or leaves the urban growth boundary? What is the detriment? I haven't heard that. I don't think I heard you say that.
Well, so the property that's hatched and proposed to be removed is within a drainage basin that the city could serve at some point in time, but it's not within the 20-year horizon window of what we've been tasked with planning for. But when A1 Home Builders came and requested to be removed, we're showing this as being removed because this is the guidance we'd received from the board thus far, and based on the sewer denial of sewer availability, we took that also as a reason that this would either develop in the county or potentially in Thompson Station. So we were left with those two routes, essentially. So at this point, if it were to be left in the Franklin urban growth boundary, I think we would just be acknowledging that it would develop in the county and that it wouldn't be able to go into Thompson Station, but we're not going to serve it. And so if we're not serving it as a city, there's not a really good rationale for us leaving it in the urban growth boundary.
Well, I think the rationale is that across the street in Keystone, we're saying that it is within the 20-year horizon that we will serve Keystone with sewer availability because it's remaining in the urban growth boundary.
That's right.
So
And
if-
we've had calls from people wanting us to help them not let it go to Thompson Station.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
kind of the reality why we're here.
Well, so we can definitely make changes to this map and bring it back to you, but the reason we showed it this way on the map is because that's the guidance we had received.
That's right.
This
And-
is
and
the
you
direction you've provided.
That's right.
And those property owners did not ask to be removed. This property owner did, and you also denied sewer availability.
Well,
So
they are
you,
asking
at
now.
2 different times, you said, we can't serve it, and it's not going to be in our growth plans.
How many people?
So if you want to change that, then we need to plan for that.
We had 3 people speak to that.
You know, or it needs to be worked out through this growth plan process between the county and Thompson Station.
I would
I
like
mean,
that
you know,
comment.
you're being asked to weigh in on a dispute about how land will develop, probably not in our sphere of influence. They're trying to use, it's a use of our designation to prevent a development that they
No, I just
don't want to see.
I hear what you're saying, but I just see where our UGB kind of engulfs around this property.
It's the end of our UGB.
Well, it goes a little bit further on Goose Creek. I think I would ask that maybe we table this and have you discuss this further. I think at least I would make a motion that we would table or defer this, thank you, to the next meeting so that this can be discussed with the staff and maybe some aldermen, so that we can maybe see if there's a way, because I think that maybe there have been some developments and people reach out. And this is what the process is for, and I regret that it didn't happen sooner, but it did happen. And so I would like to just readdress, maybe make that motion.
Motion to defer, is that what you're saying?
Defer
I'll second that.
to
You need a
I have to
date.
give a date,
August 22nd?
August 22nd.
You're going to have to get it done on the 22nd.
Yeah.
Because we've
I
got
have
to
a question.
submit this into the process.
August 22nd.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
question on
yeah.
that.
So
Deferral.
I gave a
I have-
second.
Alderman Berger?
I have a question on the deferral. Wait a minute.
Go ahead and ask the question.
Okay,
Ask the question.
okay. Well.
Ask the
Well, there's a
question.
motion on the
I think
table.
my question is, and they need to pay attention, I don't know who I'm asking this of.
Alderman Baggett's correct. We
Okay.
need to vote on that, and then you.
Well, it is to the deferral, because I don't know if I'm going to vote for the deferral until I get my question answered. I guess Shauna may have to answer this, I don't know
Well, see, we've
who.
got an appropriate motion, we've got a second, so it is okay for you to discuss.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
yes, okay. My question, if I'm going to vote for or against this deferral, is it proper that we couldn't just make an amendment to put it back into our urban growth boundary and vote on an amendment to add it back?
It's your map
Right.
to decide how you want to serve it.
Exactly.
This is just
So,
different than the direction you
question-
provided.
Question, rather than doing deferral, is anybody interested in making an amendment to just put it back in our urban growth boundary? Is that an easier
I
fix?
would withdraw my motion if you were.
I'll
to
withdraw
make it.
mine.
Okay, so I'll make an amendment, a motion for an amendment. It's up for grabs. I'm going to make a motion to amend, to put that hatched area back into the UGB for Franklin.
Second.
Okay, now I can
Motion
discuss.
second.
Now,
Can you clarify which hatched area?
well,
You've got two hashed areas.
Which-
Do you want them all back in,
parcel, well, the one parcel.
or do you want them all out?
There's two side by side right over here on the left, and then the next hatch area says parcels to be in the county. So that's in the county, out of the grove.
Those are all being removed, based on the previous direction.
Yes.
Emily, can you clarify those hatched areas? Because I'm looking at the ones on the far left, if you're looking at the map, and the one is red.
So this large parcel and the 6 parcels right below it, just south of it, are the A1 home builder parcels that have been discussed being adjacent to Keystone. We also have.
The ones that have the orange background,
Yes,
or the, up there on that map? it's
that
yellow-
are
yellow
right here
background?
where the cursor is,
I can't see. Oh, okay,
and then the 6 below it.
okay.
Then we also have this triangle property at where Goose Creek and Columbia Pike come
Oh,
together.
didn't see that.
That is the church property, south.
That's right.
Yes,
You denied sewer there.
it's
We
the
denied
South Point Church, and that's where sewer has already been denied. And then this large parcel
Yeah.
is one of the Alexander properties.
Where's that? Show me.
Do you see where the cursor
Oh,
is?
yes,
the right.
okay. I thought you were up.
And the reason that that property owner also requested to be removed from the UGB is because they own multiple properties south of that that are already in the Thompson Station city limits. So if they were to develop, they would be dealing with 2 jurisdictions
Okay,
at
and speak
once.
to the one that's in red.
Sorry, can you
The
repeat?
one that's in red says parcels to be in the county.
These right here. Yes. So those are ones that we are proposing to remove because they're not likely to be serviced by the city. They're already existing built-out subdivisions. And the reason we removed those is because they were adjacent and it made a clearer boundary here. But they're county subdivisions today, and we don't anticipating serving them in the future.
Okay, so if we added the 2 parcels up there where the little thing says parcels to be added by to Thompson Station UGB, the 2 on the top left, and we added back that one in the red, and we had that in the UGB, and someone comes and wants to develop it, we can deny them sewer and they can build it in the county.
That's what's already been done, yes. That we've already denied sewer availability for this large parcel and these 6 parcels below it, just south of it.
All right, so if we took out those 3, put those 3 back in, I'm sorry, wrong language, put those 3 back in to the urban growth boundary, the red and the 2 on the left. Not talking the ones that are all down by Goose Creek, just those 3. We put those top 3 back in to the urban growth boundary. Then, if anyone wants to develop it, they have to come in, and we would deny them sewer if we want to deny them sewer, and they could build in the county, correct?
Yes, and I would also clarify that just the vote tonight is a recommendation to the coordinating committee.
Yes.
It will be the responsibility of those representing Franklin to justify why this should remain in Franklin and how we meet the state law criteria.
Okay.
And that is my one concern. I feel like I would not be fair to not voice that concern, that if we cannot serve it within a 20-year time frame, it's going to be very hard to make that justification.
But how
I
are we
would-
doing it across the street? But I mean, this is really kind of nuanced because
That's in a different drainage basin that is more
totally.
likely to be served in a quicker time frame based on development patterns that have been studied with our water and sewer department.
across Columbia Avenue
Yes, and coming down Goose Creek.
and Keystone.
In Keystone, I don't know officially about that. Most likely because it's a county subdivision,
You just
it
left-
will
we
not
just
be
left it in
served. And again, with our initial recommendations, we did recommend leaving everything in,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, you did.
you know, so we,
Leave it on.
You'd like to be consistent.
yes, we
Yeah.
would like to be consistent, but we haven't studied these. We've been doing this process for about a year and a half now, and this is not exactly as fresh on our minds as when we
Yeah.
started the process.
Well, maybe-
But I do know that it's outside the 20-year horizon.
So the question, also, back off to that, in continuing that discussion, the question here is, if we would vote to keep it back into the UGB, then would it go back to the committee immediately and come back to us so we would know for our next vote, correct?
Right, it would go back to the coordinating committee,
Yes.
where the coordinating committee would have to decide if it is going to go into the county,
Yeah.
Franklin, or Thompson Station.
And they can let us know that.
Because there would then be a conflict between Franklin and Thompson
Sure.
Station, both asking for it, and it would be up to the coordinating committee to make that decision.
And they can let us know that by the 22nd.
No, they
would-
can't.
No?
Oh, no.
The coordinating committee won't meet till the end of August, and then that's an entire process that will take the balance of the year. It's not, you're not going to get a quick read from them. This is
So in other words-
this is the input that you're putting in about what the city wants to have in its UGB. This is your desire of what you want it to do, want it to
We will
look like.
make a presentation
Oh, okay.
to, the staff will make a presentation to the coordinating committee at the meeting in late August.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we will present what you're looking at tonight.
Okay, so if we present this, if we, okay, one more thing. If we vote to take this and put it back in the UGB, then they will look at that and they will come back to us with their recommendations at the
They
end.
will ultimately be
Yeah.
responsible
Right.
for
Either way.
making the
It-
decision. It is no longer in
Right.
Oh,
the city
they'll
of
be
Franklin.
responsible.
They get to make it, but I also want to caution you, because I heard a statement like, we can just deny the sewer and they can develop in the county.
No,
I-
yeah.
no,
But I heard that
said
statement.
that could be.
I want to caution you to not have, if that's your intent,
No, it's
you should
No,
not,
it's not
you should
my
not be
intent.
doing this. You should not be putting it
It's,
back in.
that is not my intent.
Okay.
But it is a possibility. But the other thing is, you said in a 20-year window, and I will tell you, I've been here 19 years, and there are some things that we've annexed in, and we've done, and sewer's not going to be there in 20 years, because it's not going to be there in 25 years. I'm going to tell you, it's not a magical number of 20 years, and bam, you get fined or something because you don't do it. That's the hope of 20 years, but it's not always true.
But that is the guidance that's in state
It
law.
is the guidance, I know,
And
I
that
said
will be, if you ask us to do this, that is the justification we will have to rely on in making this.
Well, I'd say it's the same.
Making this argument.
Same justification as Keystone,
Yeah, it is.
so.
Could we
Well,
maybe defer it until?
And I know, I sit on that.
It's additionally, the fact that sewer
Local
has
Government Planning
already,
Commission.
availability has been denied comes into play. So that is a big part of this consideration of why staff recommends removing it from the UGB.
Okay, any other questions or comments? You ready to vote?
No.
Vice
no,
Mayor,
all
go
I'll do
ahead.
is make one. I'm not gonna vote for the amendment to pull this back in and in 6 weeks.
It's actually the motion.
Yeah, 6 weeks from now, somebody comes in and we put it back out, pull it back in. That's not planning. So I'll vote to, if we want to defer this till the 22nd,
Yeah.
and take a look at it, be able to study this a little more in depth, rather than at 10 o'clock at night, trying to figure out on the
Okay,
fly
okay.
what we're gonna do on
Piece
some
of
of the
fly.
projects this, and I consider that pretty significant, especially to the A1 property owners and the ones that surround that. One of them's wanting one thing, one of them's wanting the other. So, as far as putting this back in, I'm not gonna support that.
But we could defer it.
Well, defer, yeah.
Okay,
we
good.
can-
I would
Okay.
agree with you. I would agree with you.
Would you like me to withdraw my motion?
What's the
You do?
favor of the motion maker and
You
the
prefer to
seconder?
vote?
I think I
Okay.
made the most,
I'll-
or no,
I will withdraw my motion.
I'll motion to defer to the 22nd.
Is there a
Seconded.
second? Okay. Any
I was
other
gonna do deja
discussion?
vu.
Yeah.
So what's the motion?
To defer to
Discussion.
the 22nd.
Yeah.
Wait, Mr. Mayor, it's
Or we just-
discussion first. So who on staff, if we're deferring this to the 22nd, who on staff is responsible between today is 8/8 and coming
Okay,
back to
we'll
us
have
in
it. Have it.
on 8/22 with information?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what information will help you. You need to help us know that. We've gone through the basics of
What are the
the
pros and cons?
difficulty in serving it, the policy that you've implemented to this point with other requests, and the guidance that you gave in denying sewer availability previously, different than other recommendations. So you're asking us to revisit I'm trying to understand what you need to make the decision.
And that's why I'm asking the question, is because as we defer to the 22nd, I want everybody to understand what the work that's going to be required to.
I honestly
review
don't know,
this.
but we'll be glad to
I'll-
try
I'll
to
tell you,
provide
I
it.
think what would help me, it would help me make a decision one way or the other is, we have UGBs kind of surrounding this property. So how we plan to serve the surrounding properties in the next 20 years, so that I can determine and make a decision whether I think it's reasonable that we might be able to serve that next 20 years. I guess if this wasn't surrounded almost by UGB, I would have more questions, and we have heard from the public, which I wish we'd have heard from them
Again,
earlier.
yeah.
But I would like, and I know we've had a long process of this, but I think that's the main thing, is how do we serve? How do we give you a case that follows state law to why it could be served? And then let us know at work session, and we can vote on the 22nd.
Okay. I want to be cautious about not opening it up that every place we're not sure about our ability to serve in 20 years, we start removing, because that's a very different policy approach. You gave direction to deny sewer availability. You gave direction to remove it. So we followed that, and now you're trying to reel that back, but you've already denied sewer availability. So I'm just not
You're also
sure.
forgetting that the property owner requested.
And then you're also going
the
against
one
property owner requests, which had been your guidance before. So
I think we should move forward, I would.
this is really more of how you want to do a policy when you've had a different request from some citizens. I'm at a loss as to how to help
Understand.
you.
I'd like to call the question on the deferral, and then we could talk about how that is
Yeah.
achieved.
Okay.
Is everybody good with calling the question?
Doesn't hurt to
Vice
defer it.
Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously to defer to 8/22. Item 7 is ordinance 2023-29, to rezone 0.10 acres from residential R6 district to Plan PD 20 for the property located at Mount Hope Street and west of 9th Street. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Is there seconded by Alderman Hanson? Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 8, consideration ordinance 2023-10, an ordinance to rezone 21.24 acres from Plan PD 11.35/12,320 district to Plan PD 11.35 per 17,320 district for the property located south of Oak Meadow Drive and east of South Royal Oaks Boulevard, Vintage at Watson Glen PUD subdivision. This is the first of 3 readings. Is there a motion?
that the applicant has
Move for
asked to
approval.
defer this for 2 months?
I have no letter to indicate that it's been asked to be
Do we
deferred.
know if the applicant's asked to defer?
Jeff is here.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
Have you asked to
Yeah.
defer?
You are?
Do we
All
have
right.
that communication? Okay.
Do you have the date? October 10th?
The letter attached to the item says deferral to October 10th per Angie. Thank you, Angie.
I move to defer to October 10th.
Second. I'm louder.
Okay, any discussion? Let's
Yes, sir.
vote. Vice
I
Mayor?
have discussion, sir.
I'm sorry? Alderman Potts.
No, I know it's for deferral. I just wanted to go on record here. I did receive feedback from Creekstone HOA, which is an adjoining this development, and discussion that was had within the Franklin Alliance of Homeowners Associations. The majority of the communities that are affiliated with it are in support of the deferment, but only if it is to allow time to positively move forward with the restaurants on site. That is the focus that the group wants to make sure is expressed.
Any other comments?
Are you doing it?
Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes to the deferral.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman
Yes,
Berger?
yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously to defer. Item 9 is consideration of ordinance 2023-22, an ordinance to rezone 2.906 acres from Regional Commerce R6 District to Plan PD 61.3 District for the property located east of Mac Hatcher Memorial Parkway and north of Cool Springs Boulevard, 101 Cool Springs Boulevard PUD subdivision, establishing public hearing on September the 12th, 2023. Is this the property that's on the corner
Yep.
of Mac Hatcher and
Yes, sir.
Cool Springs?
Yes.
It was, Planning Commission deferred it 2 times and then disapproved it 6-1. Is there a motion?
I move to disapprove.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Second by Alderman Hanson. Any discussion?
I was on,
Yes.
oh, sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead, Alderman Baggett, then I'll get the Vice Mayor.
I was only going to say, I appreciate the sentiment, but I was going to, was hoping that maybe we would approve for a public hearing so we could hear from residents. I'd like to make sure that the sentiments some of those, we heard this earlier this evening where it appears we're not listening to the public, which I just wholeheartedly disagree with, but I like to hear on these public hearings for development.
Yeah.
I like to
I
hear,
agree.
or have the opportunity for people to speak.
Motion is to disapprove. Any other discussion?
I haven't been here on this development, I'm still not there, but I do like getting to public hearing. I would have liked to have had a public hearing on this one, but I will tell you, I'm still, and mostly because I'm still not there on this development, I just don't, I'm not loving it yet, and I would
Anybody
really love to
else?
have heard some public comment.
Anybody else wanted to?
And the other thing, the public, you know, there are not that many people that live around there. The problem is because of the traffic situation and how many ways that this would not work at all.
I'll support the public hearing
I will too.
to go to that.
Okay, let's vote then. We're voting to disapprove ordinance 2023-22. Vice Mayor?
no.
Wait,
Wait, you make the
No.
motion.
No.
We're voting to disapprove.
The
Disapprove.
motion was
That is the motion.
disapproval.
No.
got it.
Alderman
Yeah,
Blanton.
it's no.
No.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
No.
Alderman Brown.
No.
Alderman Potts.
No.
And Alderman Baggett.
No.
Okay.
Motion fails 6-2.
Now we're
Mayor?
back, now we're back, back to
I'd like to move
Oh,
to,
wait, okay.
main motion.
to approve to get to public hearing.
Second.
Yeah.
Appropriate motion.
Good idea.
Any discussion? Ready to vote?
Right, and I was going to say, it was 6-1 to disapprove at the planning commission.
Right.
Recommend to
We got it.
disapprove it.
And it may be
Alderman
6-1
Peterson, it may
here.
very well go there again for me.
Yeah, very
but
well.
I just want to hear some comment.
Yep, that's right.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Hanson.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 6-2. Item 10 is ordinance 2023-24, an ordinance of zone 5-acre, zone 5, to zone 5-acre estate residential district for the property located south of the intersection of Patesville Road and Pratt Lane at 4436 Pratt Lane, established a public hearing. This has to do with annexation and referendum, rather,
Yeah.
on that property, so
This is
I
established.
consider a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barnhill, rather. Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 11 is Amendment 2 to City of Franklin Contract 2019-0031 with Clayton Properties Group and Reese Farms LLC for road impact fee reimbursement agreement amount not to exceed $200,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Ready to vote, Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 12 is Amendment 4 to the City of Franklin Contract Number 2020-0041 with Orchard Hilton McClement, Inc., doing business as OHM Advisors regarding the new City Hall project at no cost to the city. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 13 is Resolution 2023-55, authorizing the use of a competitively sealed proposal procurement methods related to the selection of owner's representation consulting services for the new City Hall project. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank
Second.
you. Seconded by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 14 is City of Franklin Contract Number 2023-0223 with the Tennessee Department of Transportation to enter a license agreement to provide secondary access to the water reclamation facility at no cost to the city. Is there a
Move to
motion?
approve.
Second.
Good. Thank you for the motion, Alderman Brown, and thank you for the second, Alderman Peterson. Is there any discussion?
None.
Seeing none, let's vote. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 15 is City of Franklin Contract 2023-0225 with Travelers Insurance to renew the City of Franklin's fiduciary liability policy effective July 1st, 2023. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill, Vice Mayor Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 16 is ordinance 2023-16 to amend Title 8, Chapter 2, Section 211 of the Franklin Municipal Code relative to special event beer permits.
Move for
Move
approval.
to approve.
All three of us. You take it,
Free
Sam.
motion and second.
You take it.
Could you clarify for me, before I ask for the vote, what that does? Does it make us approve the beer permit prior?
Makes you have an approved special event permit before issuing a beer permit for said special event.
Yep.
Up to this point, we've done it conditionally.
Everybody straight on what it does?
Correct.
And this is recommended a denial.
It's Staff is not recommending it, but the beer board requested it.
But I mean, staff recommends
The
denial.
staff's recommendation is denial because we believe a conditional works just fine. And the scheduling is very difficult between beer board and BOMA. It's almost more logistics than anything.
I hate to prolong this wonderful meeting, but I
wanna know
I
about
still am I'm fuzzy of the
I am too.
hazy of the problem we're solving.
What does this
So-
mean?
I'm not here either.
Sean, I don't recall who brought this to us initially, but I believe we were trying to follow a process solution here. Everything was always being approved based on the condition of future approval, correct?
Well, it was brought up because of Pride.
Right.
Pride had not yet gotten approval from this board to have their special event. And the night that their approval was to be before the board, that same night, but at 4:30, because beer board happens first, was their beer permit. And so their beer permit was deferred. But that happens often, where the 4:30 meeting might have the beer permit, and then the 7 o'clock meeting has the vote. So we might do work session, and then beer board, and then voting. So it's conditional for a couple of hours until it actually gets approved. And historically, again, we've never denied special event permits, so it's really been more of a formality than it has been an issue. It has helped in situations where in nonprofits, sometimes their board switches, and so they don't know timing, and they don't know when to get their beer permit request in. So they kind of submit them simultaneous, and then you've got this special event permit happening at the same time as the beer permit, and they sort of overlap.
And I would just say that the requirements for an application for a beer permit there's a lot less requirements. And so a lot of times, once they have the date and they know where they're going to have it, they'll go ahead and submit the beer permit application and get that part out of the way while they're still working
Yeah,
with
what's wrong with that?
with Monique's team to hammer out the application for the special event permit itself. So
Is there any reason why you would deny a beer permit with the approval and approve a special event?
Yeah, you could have a beer violation of some sort, and you would approve the special events permit, but you might not approve the beer permit based upon some prior incident or something like that. But yeah, you can do
But that would be caught with a
But you would know
conditional-
that.
Yeah.
The conditional approval would catch that anyway.
It would.
It should.
It would. And we do conditional beer permits for restaurants that are under construction, and they're not exactly sure when they're gonna open, and maybe they'll open before the next board or beer board meeting. So we do give them conditional permits pretty regularly before they have their CO.
But that's not a special event beer permit, is it?
No, it's not a special event. I'm just telling you that we have,
You use
when you're
conditional
thinking about process, we do have a process for conditional permits.
So what's
So,
the
so
motion?
we really don't need this.
I agree, call the question.
Well,
Call the
well, no, I
question.
withdraw my motion, because I
Move for
understand it.
approval.
Okay.
So you withdraw your motion?
I withdraw my motion for approval.
Because,
It doesn't look like we need it.
no, just let it die.
I think you may have situations where you're gonna have an applicant not have a beer permit because their timing just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And if that makes you more comfortable,
Yeah.
then the conditional permit, and you'd rather make sure they have the special
Yeah.
permit in hand,
Let it alone.
that's your purview, totally.
So we
but-
don't need a
I'm
motion.
so confused.
So with lack of a motion,
Yeah.
the item fails,
know.
and I would look for a motion to,
So moved.
That one won't fail.
all in favor, say aye. Who was it that seconded?
Clyde did.
Clyde.